So, hi everyone. Today we're talking about the Game Awards, last year's, obviously. I'm Andy, as
I'm Corey.
yep, and that's Corey, the guy who likes to go to the loo during the podcast, who thankfully got through that this time.
hmm
Hopefully, it doesn't go on so long he needs another one.
Hopefully, you never know.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking, obviously, I said Game Awards. Corey, do you know what the Game Awards are?
No, Andy, tell me what the Game Awards are.
You you don't know? Ah, terrible, Corey, terrible.
Of course I know, but I'm giving
That's
you an excuse to explain it, to expand to people who may not know what the Game Awards are.
okay.
So
So
explain to me, what's the Game Awards, Andy?
the Game Awards are an event held once a year, sort of towards December, to commemorate any and all the games that came out within the previous year that have stood out to be the pinnacle of their genre or a particular criteria like direction or best acting. So you could say the Game Awards are a bit like in acting. You should know this, Corey.
Yeah,
There's a yearly award. Don't they have it's like
there's loads of
nominees,
yearly awards.
like the
There's
big ones with
Oscars,
the
BAFTAs, Emmys. Um, yeah, there's loads.
there's loads. There's
There's loads.
three that you can
I
list.
named three off the top of my head, but there's loads and loads
Okay,
and loads of
it's
awards for acting.
it's like that, except it's specifically around games.
Yeah, the music, the esports players, the directors, the cinematography, is that the right word? Animations, etc., etc., etc. There's awards for every possible thing you could think of in a game.
Well, no,
No.
not every possible thing.
Oh, well, there's
best
not like
best
best
character
players.
customization or
Yeah, like the things
no,
that
no.
can like be valued against each other almost, but we're digressing. Let's get on with the show, shall we?
Yeah. Let's go. First of all, I want to sort of cover something that I felt personally. I don't know. Maybe other people have a different opinion to me on this. Maybe it's shared amongst us. So, do you actually know, Corey, how the Game Awards are awarded essentially? Like who decides who wins, say, Game of the Year?
Um, well, I'd assume that it'd be like a panel of expert gamers or marketers or people who are highly valued in the specific fields that they get rated on.
Yeah, so that is exactly it. So they have around 95 different outlets. So people like IGN, Eurogamer, GameRanks, these influencers and game rating boards are the ones who get to decide, and there's only 95 of them who get to decide who wins. It's 90% them who decide, and the public get to vote the remaining 10%.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, the public only get 10%. That's a bit harsh.
so yeah, it's I obviously you were more prepared for this. Obviously, you basically pointed out exactly how it's done. I personally feel like the Game Awards should not be so heavily dictated by those boards. I feel like there's a difference between the same as with acting, I guess, as well, in the sense if
Mm,
that's how they do it, is that just because they're professionals doesn't mean that they have a good idea of what the average Joe thinks is good or not, because they
mm.
look at it in a different way. They can look
Yeah.
into it too much. Where at the end of the day, what do people really care about when they play a game or when they watch a film? Is did I enjoy it? Did I leave that feeling like I had a good time?
Mm,
And I feel like these reviewers are and these boards are pushed to really think too much about them. That they have to go into each and every individual detail, at which most people don't do that.
yeah.
So, in my opinion, at least, I feel like it should be at least 50-50, but maybe even more swayed mostly our way in terms of the public.
Yeah,
and mostly we get to decide because like I get it, like that we get the board and they get to decide which games are nominated. They
yeah,
decide those 5 games, and then we, the public, then decide, okay, this was our favorite game.
yeah.
Because
I agree with that.
it's
But the only thing I would say about this is that if you make it those parameters, it would then essentially come down to a popularity contest instead of which game presents the better aspect of these genres. So if a game appears in multiple genres, because it deserves to, I'm sure, but one game is clearly really, really popular, such as, let's say, Call of Duty, very, very popular game, but because of the popularity, people would vote for it because it's their favorite game rather than is it the best at facilitating that criteria. Do you get me?
I get you, and that's exactly why I feel like the public should vote, is because at the end of the day, if 100 million people went out and buy Animal Crossing and only 5 million people bought The Last of Us, well, clearly those stats on its own kind of indicate, yeah, this year more people gave a damn about Animal Crossing than The Last of Us.
Exactly.
And I feel like that is a good metric because I don't feel that you should have one game available in 10 different like categories. I feel like there should be a limit and saying, okay, well, we'll put it in no more than 3 categories, and it'll be the 3 that it fits in best,
Yeah.
so that it can't win every category.
Yeah. That would be an interesting way of doing it.
Because then I just feel like from the results, as you'll get to hear from some of them later, from which games won some of these awards, I feel like at least obviously I'm not these review boards, but I feel the games that won these awards are games that don't really come down to gameplay. They don't. Some of these games seem to be more like, oh yeah, the way it was done was good, but actually when you play the game, you're kind of stuck thinking, well, this was the second or the third thing that they had on their mind when making this, not how much fun is the person going to play. And
Yeah.
if something is better at story or music and not gameplay, then I feel like, well, they've missed the point here. It is a game. Gameplay is the most important. How much
Yeah.
fun you have, and then story. I'm not saying story isn't important. It is very, very important, but I don't think it carries as much weight as gameplay.
Yeah. I agree. And you can say the same with the soundtrack for the game as well. Like, you don't play a game purely for the soundtrack. The soundtrack is a big part of it because you hear the soundtrack of a game, such as Halo, and your brain instantly gets that feeling of playing a Halo game, that excitement, that nostalgia.
It's not
But
just
it's
that.
not what that's not what the games were designed for. They weren't designed to have that music. The music is an asset to the game.
Yeah, like you say, music is important because it can build up tension and build scenes to a point where, like, if you ever tried playing a game and you've been in an important scene and then you replay that scene, but you ever turned off the audio so you're just hearing people talk?
No, I don't think I've ever done that.
It's a very strange experience, and the atmosphere is just completely and utterly different. Music is incredibly important,
Yeah,
but still, it comes down to, I think, gameplay overall is the most important thing. And I feel like story can build up gameplay, um, audio can build up gameplay, but gameplay isn't really there to build up the other two.
yeah, I
And
completely agree.
it's just to me number one important thing. And I feel like from these awards, it clearly shows that that was put in a backseat for things like, hey, this had a very good story.
Mm.
Hey, this had very good art direction. And those are fine when you do the category of best story award, best soundtrack award,
Yeah.
not best game of the year. So yeah, I'm little bit like, yeah, I'm not happy with the way that they go about awarding the
The awards.
awards.
Fair enough. Right. So should we get on to our tearing apart of the awards
Um,
now?
No, not yet actually.
No,
I'm
I'm
gonna
just so
catch you
excited.
now. I'm gonna catch you out first. Before
Oh
we do
gosh,
anything else, if you had to choose one game that released last year to win your game of the year, what would it be?
my game of the year. I'm looking at my game shelf now, like, oh my gosh, what was good? What was good? Um, I would have to say, for me personally, there's two games that stand out. One of which I play ridiculously even now, which is Genshin Impact, because there's just been so much good stuff that's come out of that game, even in the last few months, that I absolutely love and adore. The other one, um, which people may disagree with me, I thought that um, Star Wars Fallen Order, is it? I can't even remember
I
the
think that's
name of
it.
it.
I was expecting you to put that out there
Yeah,
actually.
because when that game came out, it was so good, and all. I played that constantly from when I got it around Christmas time the previous year. Why was it in last year's awards if it came out the year before?
If it come, did it come out around Christmas time?
Yeah, I
So
think
the
so.
cutoff point is roughly December. If games come out in December, they're put into the next year's awards.
Okay, um, but literally played that game solidly until I finished it 100% because I enjoyed the game that much. The gameplay, the story, the customization, like every aspect of that game was phenomenal, and I played it to death. The only sad thing is, once you finish that game, there's not much replayability. Like, yeah, they release some updates where you can go through and have a red lightsaber, and you can be a Sith Inquisitor or whatever they're called, and do the whole game as a bad guy. The same story, same objectives, same everything. Um, they added a few time trial challenges that you can do as a little extra bonus. But regardless of all that, there's no real replayability after you've finished it 100%. Like the aspect of getting the 100%, great, love that. Because you need to finish the story before you can complete it 100%, obviously. Um, I just adored that game, and I wish there was a sequel or some DLC to carry on
I was gonna
afterwards
say
once you've got all the.
sequel. It only came out like December, like
I know. I want a
2019.
sequel. I want to be able to play that game again for the first time because it was so good and I loved it.
See, it's kind of obvious here which is your game of the year. You're like, oh yeah, I like Genshin Impact. I also like this game, and I think
This
you
is
took
all the
about
reasons why.
3 minutes explaining Star Wars. Yeah, about 5 seconds saying, yeah, I liked Genshin.
True. Very, very true. But with Genshin, it's got so much more replayability. Like they add events on every few weeks, they add new characters into the game. Yes, there's a bit of a paywall, but as we know from playing it, that you can easily get around that and get all the end game stuff and get a fair few of the new like limited time characters just from playing the game. Like there's no big difference. Well, there is a big difference because you can spend all your money on the game, or you can not spend all your money on the game and still get some decent stuff. Um, I just don't know which one I'd pick. If I had to choose one to play forever, it'd probably be Genshin because there'll be more content added into that. Whereas Fallen Order, it's wrapped up in a nice little package like what most games are. But once you've completed it 100% like I have, there's not much else you can do with it apart from do the whole thing again when you know where everything is.
Now, you say that. First of all, I'm gonna say if I had to choose between the two that you just chose, it would be Star Wars,
Really?
hands down, without a doubt. Um, I feel like your reasoning for saying, "Hey, I can play Genshin for the next like 5 years if they keep releasing content," while Star Wars, I loved it for what this. How long did you play it for? Like 50 hours, 80 hours?
Probably around that, yeah.
Yeah, you played it for that long, and now you're done with it. Well, what's wrong with that? Why does that make it any less of a good game than
Oh,
Genshin, which you
it
spend hundreds of hours doing the
does
same stuff day in, day out?
It doesn't by any stretch of the imagination. Um, it's just if I was told that I could never play another game ever again, would it be better to have a game that I could complete and then know every aspect of, or would it be better to have a game that you can keep adding content to? Like it's basically me being selfish more than
Is
anything.
it
I
is it
think.
fair to give a game that kind of mark when at the end of the day the game's not actually finished yet? Like you can't even
True.
do like the first part of the story. You get to what the second town. I guess now you've got the mountain as well that you can climb up. But you
Yeah.
get to there and then you're kind of like, well, I've seen two of the how many are you supposed to find? Seven
7, I
gods?
think.
And so you've not even done your story. You don't know anything about your sister or brother. You don't know what's going on in this world. You've just done two
Yeah.
of the seven. I feel like it's not done yet for you to properly give that. Yeah, this game is going to carry on having content forever, and it's great. I feel like when the game is done, I feel like I'd be able to look at that game and think, wow, this is an amazing game. But
Yeah.
right now, there's too many roadblocks. You play it for a bit and you stop. At the same time, you
True.
have to keep coming back every single day because the game's so goddamn slow. They're like, hey, well, here's 7 runs. You're done your 7 runs. Go come back tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree with that. I do agree that if when they've got the full completed game, it's going to be so good and so juicy and everything. But sadly, games of this magnitude, like the companies can't afford to give a full game because they wouldn't be able to do it for like say the whole game isn't finished until 2 years time. That's another 2 years that they would have had to work without really getting any profits in. But releasing it with as much content as they have, they can reap profit from what they've made, which will fund them to be able to carry on making content. You know?
But then you should still be driven to provide a completed experience to the player
Yeah.
base. You shouldn't give something, slap that early access tag on it and be like, yeah, early access, you got half a story, two little areas, go ahead, that's your game. And then if you like it and give us money for a game that's not finished, then we will endeavor to keep updating it until we've made all our money back and want to move on to another project.
I mean, isn't that what Final Fantasy VII Remake have done?
No, again, they've come out front. They have hidden it a little bit. They've not said Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1. They've just said Final Fantasy VII Remake. But it's very clearly this is what you're getting. They've finished this. It's just the second part of the story comes in the next game. I don't agree with that. Obviously, I'm not defending that, but that's completely different to Genshin. And you also say like, about making money. Do you know how much money they spent on that game? Like in
A
making it?
lot.
Like could you guess? Put a number to it.
I think you've told me before that it was like $2 million or something like that.
$100 million they spent on the development of
Okay, a
that
little
game.
bit less than what I guessed.
Um, a
Two
hundred.
million, 100 million. What's 98 million between friends?
I wonder. Could make 50 times the game that you quoted there. No,
Yeah.
100 million, and they made that money back straight away. Might I add? It was back. They had that back within a few days.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Like
A
most
hundred
people in the
million.
game have made a few microtransactions, even for like the battle pass or some the battle pass. That's like
Like,
£10 for a month.
if you need me to, I can check, but I'm pretty sure that The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, which is a completed game, and you can play it through many different ways, is very enjoyable, and they're very easily compared, despite there
Yeah.
being, I will say, a very big difference between the two games when you get down to it. Um, that game costs less than that, and that's a finished game. Is there?
Really?
Yeah, let me double check for you right now.
I'm just googling it now. It had a budget of 20 million.
20 million, and they made Breath of the Wild. A
Yeah.
hundred million, and they made two towns in Genshin.
True. Very true.
And you say that that's okay. And how much money have you spent on Genshin so far?
I'd rather not say on a recorded live stream that my girlfriend is
That's
going to listen
basically
to.
okay. Have you spent more on Genshin than you have on Breath of the Wild?
um, Well, technically, I didn't buy Breath of the Wild for myself. I got it as a present, so
Did you spend
probably.
more than the retail RRP price of Breath of the Wild?
Does that include or not include DLC for Breath of the Wild?
I'll tell you what, we'll wrap it all up, including DLC.
Including DLC, I haven't spent more on Genshin Impact. Not
Okay,
including
so
DLC,
so you
I
spent
probably
between
have.
50 and 80 pounds on Genshin. That helps. There you go. Now everyone knows.
Now
So
everyone knows.
you have happily spent that much money, and as you've said yourself, there's only a little bit of the game. They've got much more area to release. They've got so much more stuff for you to microtransaction yourself into.
Yeah.
Are you feeling so sure about that Genshin, or are you still happy that Genshin's your game of the year?
Mm, I don't know. I was torn from the start. Like I'm still torn now
You're still
between
torn. I
Star Wars
can't
and
convince
Genshin.
you. I can't
Like
convince you.
the fact is, I go on Genshin Impact daily and do my daily quests and spend a good like
And
2-3 hours on the
so
game.
let me ask you, how different is your daily activities on Genshin? Like
Oh,
how often?
it's
Go.
literally doing the same thing every day. Whereas when I play Star Wars, I go on and do something completely different every single day. So you've got me there.
So basically, you grind the game out every single day for how long have you been playing it? Not
Since
hours
release.
wise, like since release, and it came out September and it's
Yeah,
January. So you've been playing it for about 3 months now.
yeah,
You've been grinding away every single day to get what? A couple extra characters and a couple levels in a
yeah.
game that has 5 more areas to release. Again, I keep saying 5 more areas to release, and you're already max level. There's no higher level in the game now,
I've got one of my characters to max level.
but you have access. You're at the point now where you're over rank 50. So
Yeah,
essentially, you now have access to all content in the game, and anything you do now to progress your account is pointless, and it's just getting those, like, min-maxing those stats on your characters now.
yes,
And you've got 5
absolutely.
more areas to go.
Yes. I have ruined the game for myself. I am aware of this. I've ruined the next 5 areas because I'm going to get, as soon as they appear, I'm just going to destroy them easily with all my high level characters that
It,
will take everything with ease.
it sounds to me, over the next couple months, you're going to start getting all your characters to level 90. You're going to be maxing out all their stats, and then you're
All
going
the
to be
weapons.
stuck where, oh, now I need to buy gems to get more characters to have something to do.
Yeah,
Or farm for the grind, which is to get more characters through the free gems. But
yeah.
that's up to you. I like the game. Don't get me wrong. I'm dissing it a lot. I like the game, but I would never ever give it Game of the Year because the story is not there. There's a lot of
Yeah,
jarring
the story
problems.
isn't quite how it should be yet because, like you say, you've literally got access to all of the prologue chapter, and then chapter one, I think, is where it's up to, like the end of chapter one, maybe the beginning of chapter two. Um, and they've mentioned areas that they haven't even glossed over yet. I thought the new update with the mountain area was going to be getting access to Sneznaya or whatever it's called.
Shesnaya, the town in snow. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think you'll get there for a while because isn't that where we shouldn't be going too much into the story here, but isn't that where the
that's where
home to the
Tartalia
main bad
is.
guys are?
No,
Isn't it?
not to,
No,
it's not the home to the main
the
bad guys. I don't
Fatui.
think.
That's it.
I
No,
don't think so. I think like I, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone in the comments. Um, but I believe that Sneznaya is just the area where Tartaglia or Child is from, and that's where his family lives. I don't think that's the head. I don't think it's the headquarters of the Fatui,
yeah, that might
particularly.
might be me just um thinking too much into the story, but the harbingers don't necessarily have to all come from the same place.
True, very very true. Anyway, now
We
that we've slated
digress.
my choices for Game of the Year, what would you choose for Game of the Year, Andy?
See, I'm quite happy to say I'm not torn. Like my game of the year. is Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of
I
Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, that is the Japanese styled open world RPG where
Yes.
you take the role of a samurai who you get to decide whether he goes down the honorable path, or the or the and I'm
Less
thinking let's
honourable path.
let's put un in front of it, unhonorable path.
Dishonourable?
Basically, do you present yourself in front of people as a honest samurai who will take them down and give them honor, or will you just be a cheeky ninja, sneak up behind them and kill them all without giving them the chance to fight back?
Let me guess you
Using
with the ninja type.
yeah, I'm
Thought so.
definitely more of the sneaking into camps and doing things the wrong way. But no, the game
Fair.
is just stunning, beautiful. It really just stands out as a pinnacle of design meeting gameplay perfectly. Like I just loved the style of the game. I know earlier I'm saying that gameplay is important. It is. It has amazing gameplay. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But I also just love the style. I love feeling like it. I feel like when I'm playing it that you are in Japan, despite it being an older time. It
Mm.
really does take you away and put you into that new world. And immersion is
Nice.
a very nice thing in games. I enjoy immersion.
That is a very
So
good thing to have in games.
yeah,
From
Ghost
what
of
I've seen of the
Tsushima.
game, it does definitely seem up my street, and I'm going to have to steal it from you at some point to play it properly. um, but I digress. Well, with that being our own choices for Game of the Year, let's see how that relates to the actual choices. So, the
Oh,
Game of the Year nominees were Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and The Last of Us Part 2.
okay. So before we say who won that, if anyone, like obviously, many people would have seen it by now, but for our listeners who don't actually know which game won,
One.
obviously
Hashtag
decide for
spoiler alert.
yourself. Oh well, it's not spoiler alert. I mean, at the end of the
I mean,
day,
it is if you don't know it.
they're watching a podcast to do with Game of the Year. If they were watching it and didn't want to know, like, I don't even know why. It's not like it's a story. We're not, Corey, stop. Just stop.
Sorry.
So obviously our viewers can decide for themselves what they think is their game of the year. You know, for example, I know Charlotte's game of the year is 100% Animal Crossing. She just loves that game.
Yeah.
Um, I want to know as well what hours out of those choices you have to now choose from those six. Obviously, everyone knows my answer. Ghost of Tsushima
Yeah.
is already on there. I already chose that as my overall game of the year. What about you?
Um, this is tricky.
Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Animal Crossing New Horizons, The Last of Us Part 2.
I wouldn't say I definitely would take Animal Crossing off that list for me
Ooh,
personally.
poor guys.
Um, Pardon?
Said poor guys. How come you take that off
Yeah.
your list? Is it just like a
Because
obvious, wasn't that great?
I love the game. Don't get me wrong. I played the game for many, many hours. It absorbed most of my life back in, when was it? March when it came out.
Yeah, Lockdown Part
Um,
1.
like anyone, because it was the only way you could socialize with people. However, it's a game that they said so much about it they made such a big point about it being multiplayer and being able to go to other people's islands and stuff like that, like in all Animal Crossing games. But you would have thought that with all the renditions of Animal Crossing that they've released over the years, they'd do something that you could actually do in multiplayer.
Oh my
But all you can
gosh.
do is walk around each other's islands.
You are terrible. You cannot down the Animal Crossing New
No,
Horizons
don't.
multiplayer when you literally said Genshin Impact was one of your game of the years and there is nothing you can do in multiplayer together.
But you can at least fight bosses together and claim the rewards together and do really hard challenges together.
Yeah, and you can chop trees down together in Animal Crossing and dig holes and watch stars together. I don't see the problem here. Yes, it's not a multiplayer rich game, but it's still got multiplayer.
It does. it does have multiplayer, but the multiplayer aspect of the game isn't great. Like I found myself being really hyped to play multiplayer with people, ended up going to their islands, walking around for like 2 minutes looking at their stuff and going, okay, I'm going to go now because I can't do anything here that I can do on my island, so I'm just going to leave and do the stuff I want to do on my island. And the same when people came to my island, I'd feel obligated to try and entertain them by showing them my fruit trees
Well,
and giving them an option to steal my fruit trees
okay,
and
let's ask this question
whatnot.
then. If you were the designers of Animal Crossing then, and you had the game in front of you, you're about to finish it, what else would you add to that multiplayer? What would you give players to do yourself? Like,
Um,
what do you want from the multiplayer?
I don't know. Just I'd probably give them the option to go to a mutual island where they could design their own island together, where they could both create things and both destroy things communally. You know, like you can make your own house together. You could have your own little civilization together. You could design things together. Whereas you can either go to someone's island and not do anything, or have someone come to your island and them not do anything. You know?
I I feel you and I don't feel you at the same time
Oh,
because I get you.
okay then.
I do get you. It would be nice to be able to make your own island together. And Charlotte says this to me as well. She wishes that there was a way you could have another island where you could play together. But here's the deal, and this is the big deal breaker. Like hell, would I want anybody making an island with me? Because I want to put my things in the right place. I want this here. I want that there. I want to make it perfect. And if you're on
Yeah,
the other side of the island making a completely different style island, we're either so far apart that we don't see each other until we are literally battling for the little bit of earth in the middle of our island. Like, no, this is mine. I'm drawing the line here.
yeah.
Lost my trail of thought, but I just I don't think in any ways two people who genuinely like Animal Crossing that much could honestly make an island together unless they both sat down, communally agreed on it, and at that point, it's not something that that one person could do on their own with a little bit more time anyway.
Yeah.
I
But then it begs the question of if you were that possessive of what you wanted in the island, why would you play multiplayer? You know?
because the point is when you make something, it's like a bit like Minecraft. When you make something, it's cool. You've made this amazing thing, and you're really proud of it. So what do you do with it? Well, you want to show people. And unless you're
Mm,
like a big YouTuber or you've made one of the best islands that you get a YouTuber to want to show off your island, the only people you can show it to are your friends and family. And you kind of need them to kind of validate all your work. Like, I don't want to spend 300 hours on my island, get it all perfect, and then just be like, cool, I'm done, turn it off, never show no. I want someone to see it.
yeah, I mean, I do get that. I was kind of the latter, though. I spent 500 hours perfecting my island and then went,
500
okay,
hours.
goodbye. I think it was around 500 hours. No, couldn't have been.
Charlotte's not even spent 500 hours on it.
Maybe 300 hours. I can't remember. It's in the hundreds.
Dear
It
me.
was mad.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it. Anyway, we're going way too much. We're going to be here for the next 10
Yeah,
hours
if we talk
if
about every
people,
game in this much detail.
every game in that
Um,
much detail.
so I
So,
wouldn't choose Animal Crossing. I quite like the look of Hades, but I don't think it deserves Game of the Year personally. Um,
okay,
for whatever reason.
whatever
Um,
reason, give us a short explanation. Why doesn't it deserve Game of the Year?
I don't know. It's got really good it's got really good features to it. I feel like the design is very niche and it's very cartoony and very like low graphic scale, which is great because then it can be put on multiple platforms and it can be used in a wide variety of things. Whereas something like Final Fantasy VII or Ghost of Tsushima wouldn't be on a Nintendo Switch or a phone because it would not be able to handle those kinds of games.
But then you need to ask yourself, at what point is it graphically good enough for you because it's a randomizer. So you start the mission and then the dungeon is randomized for you.
Yeah.
And it's a really lovely art style in the sense that they've looks like to me they've hand drawn all of the artwork and managed to somehow make those connect perfectly, which is a lot harder to do than a lot of games
Oh
like
no, yeah,
Like the Wizards of Legend, whatever it is, where they have a pixelated game, or the Binding of
yeah,
Isaac, which is fades to black in every single room. This
yeah.
kind of joins quite seamlessly.
No, I get that, and I think there's been a lot of work done into it, but I don't know. Just something about the art style would take that away from being Game of the Year for me
Okay.
personally.
I mean, it's a big award, so it makes
Yeah,
sense.
it would. It by all means, it would definitely win some kind of award, but Game of the Year, I don't think it would win or should win, in my own opinion. Um, so then we're down to Ghost of Tsushima, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Doom Eternal, and
I
Last of Us
was
Part
gonna
2.
say, you just kind of missed out Last of Us there.
Yeah, I know. Um, um, I'd probably say the game I'd go for would probably have to be the same as you, Ghost of Tsushima, because it just ticks all the boxes for me. Like it's just got all the right aspects of what I think Game of the Year should
You've
have.
you've always been a ninja kind of person. You love the
Yeah,
style. Obviously, you love the anime Naruto and like that as well, which is
yeah,
I wouldn't say they're comparable, but you've
no,
always loved that, so I can see the enjoyment. And you've liked Assassin's Creed. Um,
yeah. I love
they
Assassin's
they
Creed.
it's
Love
all
that.
kind of piled
Game.
into this game. Those sort of features, I
Yeah,
can see that.
exactly. Um, so I would definitely have to say Ghost of Tsushima for me. I think it was definitely a close one between the what would come second between the other three games. Um, the Last of Us Part Two, I've heard so many great things about, and I've seen so many great things about it. Um, but I don't know
So
because it's
what?
a sequel game. I feel like you need to know and understand the first game to be able to properly enjoy the second game, which then begs the question of should both games be up for nomination if you have to play both to enjoy it to the
But it wasn't
fullest?
released this year, so it needs to stand on its own.
Well, yeah, exactly. Um, then Doom Eternal looks amazing. Not really up my street generally. Like I'm not a big fan of gory games, and that is the epitome of gore in a game. Um, and Final Fantasy VII remake, I just don't think they should label it as Final Fantasy VII remake when it's Final Fantasy VII remake Part One.
So the naming of the game is what made you not
Well,
want.
not just the naming of the game, but the fact that it is not a completed game. The fact that it's Final Fantasy VII and it only goes up to a certain point before you cannot before the game ends, even though
But
that's not where Final Fantasy VII ended.
can you not appreciate the scale of the game, like, and how
Oh
much?
yeah, completely. The game is phenomenal. The game is huge. The gameplay is amazing. It's such a good game, and I feel like since Final Fantasy VII is such a fan favorite, then remaking this and making this game so big is the right move for Square Enix and the like a really good decision to make.
Obviously,
Um,
they're deviating from the original Final Fantasy VII, though. It's not
yeah,
the
it's
original game's story. It's actually changing
no,
some
I
parts
know,
of it. So,
but obviously because like otherwise it'd be remastered instead of remade because they remade the game, not to be like pedantic or whatever. Um, but there's something
so,
about the fact that it's not finished, which
and
kind of stops
this
me from being able to say it's game of the
this is
year.
why you hate me so much because I'm going to pick on you again. You literally earlier
Yes, I
said
know you're saying
Genshin
about
Impact
Genshin
was
Impact.
best
Rah, rah, rah,
game,
rah, rah.
despite the fact it has literally not even a fraction of the story that's needed.
I
And yet
know.
you're saying Final Fantasy VII is not okay because they only have half a story.
Yes, I'm a hypocrite. Deal with it.
But then,
Um,
but then, is it really fair to down a game just because of something that you applauded a different game for?
Um,
That's like
yes,
saying Doom
because
Eternal's no good because it has gore
yeah,
in it, but then saying you like another
but
game because of the gore.
but Genshin Impact, they're not going to release Genshin Impact 2 with the rest of the stuff for Genshin Impact. Whatever's going to be in Genshin Impact is going to be in Genshin Impact. Whereas Final Fantasy VII, they're going to release a whole other game for the second part of it. And I don't know, I'm just clutching at straws a little bit here. Um, but they've marketed Final Fantasy VII Remake as if it was going to be the whole game and not done that, which
Yeah,
yes,
it
Genshin Impact. They've said that they're going to have 7 areas. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be so many characters to play as, and they're giving us a fraction of that, which is fair enough. Like because they've promised that all the other stuff is coming with it. It's not a case of we're going to release this much of the game, but then you're going to have to download another massive game and pay whatever for another game, which is completely separate to this game. You can do all the progress and work as hard as you want in this game, and when they release new stuff, you'll still have all the stuff you worked hard for to carry on. You
what
know,
makes you think that the second one won't continue on from this one?
I don't know. I
Why
don't know
would
if it
you
will.
why
I don't
would
know
you
if
think that
they'll.
it wouldn't?
Well, with that logic, does that mean that if you get the second part of Final Fantasy VII Remake, you won't be able to play it because you haven't played the first bit?
I imagine they'll have like a baseline. Like if you're really strange and you're like, hey, this is the second part of a game and it picks up from the middle of the story. I'm sure because you paid for it, they'd give you like the base level of like stats that you should have for the beginning of that game. Or they'll do it in a way where whether you do or don't, your stats will reset in the new game, but you'll be able to take over a bunch of items and equipment from the first one.
Mm, I don't know. We'll have to just wait and see when that comes out and probably have another chat purely based on that. Um, but anyway,
I'm gonna keep picking on you all day today. I hope you're looking forward to
apparently,
this.
I'm
Like,
not. I'm not looking forward to this at all.
I am loving it.
Um,
Uh,
but yeah, that's my picks. Should we reveal who
okay.
the winner was of best game?
Yes, so the winner of Game of the Year 2020 was The Last of Us Part 2.
Correct.
And I'm sure you don't mind that, but for me, it really, like it from what I said earlier, it really gets me something rotten because I feel like it's a Netflix show.
It
Like
is very
you'd
story
enjoy it
orientated.
just as much watching a YouTuber play it as you would playing it yourself.
Yeah.
And I think when a game is at that point, it's either literally the best game ever, or they've clearly missed a point and made it too cinematic and too story driven.
Mm.
Like if you watch someone play The Last of Us Part Two from start to finish, is there any point playing it yourself?
True.
I vastly dislike this game for the popularity. Like if no one had raised this as a pinnacle of gaming, then I'd like the game a lot more. Um, but it's because they're saying, yes, this has beaten all of these gameplay driven games. I'm like, no. And it gets me that I feel like the reason that won over others is only because it was reviewed and decided by those 95 um, game judges rather than by the public. I mean, that game sold, I think, what was it, 4 million copies? And then
Yeah.
Animal Crossing, 20 million, for example. I'm not saying that games should win because of numbers, but
Mm.
I do feel like there is a strong emphasis on that.
Yeah.
You know, the price of entry for PlayStation this year, a PlayStation Slim is like 150 to £200. A Nintendo Switch is roughly the same price. Like, there's no difference in price of entry for that game. And
Mm.
it hurts me too much to hear that cinematic story based games are beating out just titans like Hades, Ghost of Tsushima, and Doom Eternal. Didn't mention Final Fantasy there. It's a great game, but I love it, but it's not on those top
Why
pedestals for
not?
me.
Why not, Andy?
Why not?
Yeah.
It's it's a Final Fantasy game at its core, and I've been playing those games for years. And yes, it's changed to more of a well, it is a action based, and they've added some kind of turn based mechanics into it. So it's like you can stop and recover action points to be able to use moves, but I it doesn't do it for me. It's not different enough to carry through the what is it like 80 hours of gameplay that game requires.
Yeah.
And the filler that's in it, especially towards the end of the game, is something that's like you don't need to add this filler into the game. You don't need it there. Like
Okay.
that's my main reasons for not putting that as the top three for me. But The Last of Us is not up there. I loved Animal Crossing, but it's not game of the year for me. I
Okay.
I find it a little bit odd that it was on there, and Final Fantasy VII Remake isn't on that top three for me either.
Okay. Right. Let's go on to the next category, shall we?
Yeah, so
The indie games, I believe. Best indie.
just so that our audience realize they can actually type into the. I mean, I have not been looking this week. I've been ignoring it. No, you can actually talk to us live through the chat. Okay, apparently one of them is struggling. Never mind. Um, but yeah, he says that he found the Last of Us story to be actually quite disappointing.
Who said that?
Um, that was Martin actually.
Oh,
Martin told us
really?
that he actually found it to be very disappointing,
Oh, wow.
and so that knocks it down even further in his perspective. You know, if we're not saying it's gameplay that drives it, it's story, and he's saying the story was bad to him. I mean, then there's actually no point even playing it
Literally. Where's this message
anyway.
come up into anyway? Because I can't
This
see
is
it
in
from anyway.
this is in Discord to me at the moment.
Oh, privately.
He said it wasn't bad. It was just disappoint. Like disappoint. It was just disappoint.
It was just disappoint. Well,
Yeah,
if we could do us all a favor and put that in a lobby chat so we can all see it, so
he
we can all
he
respond to it, that'd be great.
he can. He has to try and figure it out. We'll let him figure that out while we carry on.
Yes.
So next award we're going to talk about is game
Best
of
indie.
yeah best. No, it's not best. It's best ongoing.
Really? Well, how have I missed that? I was looking at the list you gave me earlier. Um, Best ongoing. I've lost my list. I've lost my list. It's gone.
I'm pretty sure I sent that to you. Come on, stop distracting it. Yeah,
Yeah.
game of the
You
year,
said game of
best
the year.
ongoing.
Oh yeah, I skipped that. Apparently.
Well, that might be why you're getting confused because you're skipping them.
So game of the year, then best ongoing. There we go.
Yes,
Found
best
it.
ongoing. So the nominees for best ongoing game of the year was Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, No Man's Sky.
Right.
So, Corey, I did it first last time because it was obvious for me which was my winner.
No, you didn't. You asked me first last time. Well, you said which
I
I
said
choose of any game
I
first.
don't I don't even need to choose because I already said what my game of the year was. You take it away from here. Which of these five games, Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky, is your game of the year?
Best ongoing game of the year.
Best ongoing game of the year. Thank you for correcting me.
No worries. Um, this is very tricky. I'm probably going to have to go with No Man's Sky.
Okay.
Because I just love the open feel of it. I love the idea of playing with friends and going to different worlds and just doing so much exploration. It's ridiculous. Now they've sorted out all the bugs that were there when it started.
And added in all the features that they promised and then didn't give you.
Yeah, those ones.
Those ones.
And honestly, it was a toss-up between that and Apex Legends well, it was a toss up between that was going to be the clear winner, but it was a toss up between Apex Legends and Destiny 2. I just disregarded Call of Duty and Fortnite because I don't like those games particularly, and the idea of battle royales is getting out of hand, in my opinion.
Wait, what? What?
Battle royales,
You just said that your
Fortnite.
second place was Apex Legends and then said, but not Call of Duty, Warzone, or Fortnite because they're battle royales. But Apex
No,
Legends is a battle royale.
not because they're battle royales. I just said the idea of battle royales is doing my head in at the minute anyway.
So
Apex Legends, I feel like would be quite interesting to have a go at. I don't know whether I'd enjoy it or not, but from the look of it, it looks better than the likes of Fortnite and Call of Duty Warzone. And
okay,
Call of
then
Duty itself, it's I like the game. I appreciate the game, but all the games are getting to the point where they seem to be the same game, rehashed and remarketed, the same as FIFA, the same as I don't know,
I'm not.
Formula One racing,
I'm not
etc.
actually sure. Is Warzone the first Call of Duty Battle Royale, or is that the sequel to the first Battle Royale Call of Duty?
I believe it's a sequel. I think one of the previous games had DLC for Battle Royale.
Okay, but this is the first, like, completely made for it.
I think so.
I see.
Destiny 2, great game made by Bungie, but I mean, we both got the game,
Why am
played
I?
like 5 levels, and then stopped playing it. So it clearly wasn't that
I,
enticing.
I just realized, like, I'm an idiot. I'm saying, like, is Warzone a sequel? Like, I'm so dumb. Why am I asking if it's a sequel when this is the award for ongoing game? It's the first one. Oh dear.
You're
All
just
right.
about as special as
Just
me.
pat myself on the back there. Well done, Andy. Well done.
Well done, Andy.
I wonder how many people was just like thinking how dumb I was at that question.
I mean, I wasn't. I was fully going on with it, to be fair.
I
So
feel
me and
like
you are just as thick as
you
each other.
you said it was the first one, but it was the first one that was fully like its own game. So you were still correct in that part. Okay.
Funny.
Anyway, sorry, you were saying Destiny 2 wasn't you're not a big it's not like up there for you because it you didn't play much of it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Destiny games. I love Bungie. I love Halo. Everything that I love. I love the games. However, right, the fact that we picked it up more or less brand new, played it for all of like 5 hours maybe, and then haven't touched it since. Marketing very well for me,
Sorry, I broke up a bit there for me.
you know.
You're just basically saying that it because we've not picked it up since we first bought it, really, apart from that first time, you feel like it's just what marketing fodder in the sense that it was bigged up and then never touched.
Essentially, but also the fact that we played the game, picked it up, expecting to have such good gameplay with it, to really enjoy ourselves with it, and then since haven't picked it up, kind of doesn't
But
make me
then,
think it's
do you not think that you might be missing the ticket here? Like No Man's Sky, that you said was your best ongoing game of the year. It started off terrible. It was not worth picking up, and the prices for that game were so damn low. They've improved that game, and now it's doing amazing.
right.
Destiny 2, we picked up around about the beginning. We played it, didn't get along with it too well, dropped it. It's now up for game best ongoing game of the year. And you're saying, well, we haven't played it since it first came out, so it doesn't deserve that award.
Um, I'm not saying that it doesn't deserve to be there because
No,
it is an
but
enjoyable game, but I just wouldn't pick it because, well, I suppose it is quite a biased view of the fact that I played it
you
quite
played
early
it,
on. But even though it was early on, they still had the story aspect to it, which is what we normally play the games for anyway.
which has been modified to a degree now. They've done a lot of changes to that game
Oh,
from what we originally played.
well, in which case I have to pick it back up again, and I might change my mind.
Exactly. I feel like that's something to consider because it is up for a nomination for ongoing games. They've been improving it and adding things to it and making it better. So it could actually be the difference between you dropping it and actually playing it for the next 2 years as they keep adding more content to it.
Fair enough. What's your choice then?
Okay, my choice, I think, is No Man's Sky as well. I think that's
Fair.
now that it's starting to deliver on those promises that it made, now that I can play with my friends, now that I've got all these extra features and ways to enjoy the game, I think I'm finally ready to pick it up and say, yeah, this this is my this is a game that I'm gonna sit down and enjoy for hours. I'm gonna get my friends in, and we're gonna have fun traveling through space, finding other planets.
Sounds good. I'm up for it.
I feel like for me, Call of Duty Warzone is off the table for me. I can't say awfully what's changed, but it's a Call of Duty game. I'm imagining they probably added a bunch of maps, a bunch of new weapons, and probably a bunch of new
Yeah.
items to customize your character with. And those are things that honestly are not really important.
Mm-hmm.
Fortnite, if I said from when it began to now how much it's improved, it's improved in so many ways that the two games are almost unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Um, you've got vehicles now. You've got like sometimes you get like events where it's like special characters spawn in. Um, I think it definitely had like I think it was aiming for a different market in the beginning. I think it
Yeah.
didn't really know what it wanted to be because originally it was a multiplayer survival zombie game, and
Really?
the originally it was a survival zombie game. You used to use the crafting stuff to build up a base and defend it from waves of zombies. And that was the paid for part, and the free part that they didn't worry about too much was the battle royale.
Mm.
I think a lot of kids have picked it up and they realized that, and they've started turning to the kids based. Like, and you can tell they've been trying to get that, even though it's online only, they've been trying to get their games in the stores to get parents to pick them up. Because you get people coming around at Christmas time asking store people, "Oh yeah, can I get some V-Bucks?" And at least a few years ago, the stores were like, "No, you can't. Like, it's an online game," and they were really confused. Some of them would just
Yeah.
go in and ask for Fortnite, and it was like, "It's a free game. Just let your kid download it."
Yeah.
um,
Imagine game shops making a profit out of that though, being like, "Oh, can we get Fortnite?" And just giving them like a little piece of card that said, "Yeah, this is your Fortnite. Just type that website in the bottom, download it." Charge them like £5 for the
oh,
directional
don't. That's
thing.
terrible, terrible. No, you're
Mm.
terrible. This is
I
why you
mean,
don't deal with marketing.
literally.
I would say it's improved a lot. Fortnite is definitely improved a lot. I'm not gonna say I'm going back to it. It's not one of my tops, but
No.
they've really done well with improving the game. Um, Destiny 2, I'm in a similar boat as you. Like, I don't feel like I can accurately say how much better Destiny 2 is because I've not picked it up because we've been playing it together. So it's kind of hard for me to say how much it's improved. I have picked up once or twice just to sort of see how it runs on my phone on Stadia, which is really cool that you can play that for free now. And they've merged the two games together. Like Destiny 1 and 2 are now just Destiny 2.
Which is
It's
really
kind of
cool.
weird.
But
I feel like it should just be called Destiny now, though.
yeah, probably.
um, I might be able to might someone might want to shut me up. I don't know whether this is true still, but Destiny 2, I felt like really limited with the character choices. Like I wanted like there's three classes, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like Warlock, Titan, Hunter.
And yeah.
I think
And
those
then
are
they
the
have
three
subclasses within those three
within those classes. And
classes.
I feel like if they had somewhere, and I'm being really greedy here, somewhere between 9 to 12 classes with
Oh my gosh.
subclasses. I mean, this is a big game.
Yeah.
I would feel more interested. Like, I'd like to have like healers. Like, I get that you can, like, don't get me wrong. The subclasses are there to specifically allow you to convert your character into that type of class. Like, I'm pretty sure you could convert a warlock into a healer. Um, but having classes that can then deviate, like being a mainly a healing class, but having the ability to do like status effects on the opponent, on the enemies, and then having maybe more of a ninja type class where they are much more like invisible and stealthy, and then having perks that specifically appreciate that rather than needing to convert a character's class into that kind
Mm,
of, but having things in other areas. I feel like that would be the main change that would bring me into Destiny 2.
fair.
Like I don't like the fact that there's kind of a best way to build each class, and I'm going to end up being the same warlock as every other warlock, and that's about
Yeah.
33% of the community because there's only three classes.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I don't like multiplayer games that are too like I'm the same as the guy next to me.
Yeah.
And it's asking for a lot, but that's me.
Mm,
Um, so finally, Apex Legends for me is my second choice. It is a battle royale game. I'm not the biggest fan of battle royales, but this game definitely I like its Overwatch-esque styled character system
yeah.
that it uses with battle royale. I think it's a really cool way to go about modernizing the battle royale system altogether, like having the ability to have a team that choose different classes that can then help each other in different ways, and it makes more meaning to like how you engage with your opponents. If you see another squad and you see they've got a hunter on their team and they can track you down and reveal your positions to the rest of their team, it might be worth taking down that hunter first and then dealing with the combatants after, because then you can then spread out and not all be taken down by a rocket, for example,
Yeah.
rather than Call of Duty or any other battle royale, the thousands that are out there, thousands, not
The
thousands.
thousands.
PUBG, for example, like you just take them down. You see one, you take them. Like,
Yeah.
what's the point in thinking about it?
Yeah. True. So the real winner of this award was, drum roll please.
Uh, I don't have drums, but I'm doing it.
I can hear that. That's good enough. It sounds a bit disturbing.
Hurry up!
Is No Man's Sky. Woo!
Yeah, so I guess we agreed with the Game Awards on that one.
Yeah.
I felt like the reason we agreed is because the competition wasn't
Yeah, it wasn't really
really
much of a
there.
competition, really,
The
with
the four
Fortnite, Call of
games are all
Duty.
shooters.
Yeah, 4 shooters or an exploration game. I mean, it's going to win.
Exactly.
Anyway, on to best indie game,
Yes,
and
the
this
one
is
that
a very exciting category.
you wanted to get onto.
I did.
I'll let you read out the games this time.
Okay, so for this category, which, if you're not aware, it's for the outstanding and creative technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system. So, independent publishers who haven't made massive games before, or who don't work for big companies such as Nintendo or the Pokemon Company, etc., 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 or work directly under the umbrella of PlayStation,
Yes,
for
rather
example.
than an Indiana Jones type game. That's not what they're on about.
Yeah. Um, so what we have is Carry On. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yes, Carry On. I feel like we should explain a little bit about each game. Carry On is a horror, like a game where you take the role of the monster in a horror movie.
Yeah, which is very interesting. You have Fall Guys Ultimate Knockdown, which is essentially like Ninja Warrior, but in a video game. Best way I can think of describing it. If anyone's seen
Wipeout.
Ninja Warrior or Total Wipeout, yeah.
Takeshi's Castle.
Yeah, that kind of thing where you play as someone who's trying to win a game show where you have to throw yourself in an obstacle course or whatever. You have Hades, which was mentioned for Best Game of the Year previously, which is basically about it's like
It's a top-down dungeon crawler about
yeah,
a I forget is I think he's the like no, he's the child of, is it Satan? I'm not too sure who's the
Hades,
child of Hades.
the child of Hades, hence
I
the
guess
name
that's
Hades.
Shush. Okay. Yeah, and it's about him trying to escape.
Escape Hell.
Yeah.
Um, then we have Spelunky 2, which is a sequel to the game Spelunky, which we've played many hours on, where you basically have to get through a platformer dungeon without dying in the most humiliating, funny, or ridiculous ways.
See, the comment I made earlier about it not being games like Indiana Jones, this doesn't apply to this game. This is like Indiana Jones.
This is literally Indiana Jones with more deadly creatures. And then we have Spiritfarer. How would you describe this one?
I'd class this as an artistic style game. I feel
Yeah,
like you kind of walk around this boat and you sort of solve a mystery.
yes,
It's definitely for those who want a it's one of those games that are not a gameplay driven. It's more of an experience, and it feels like less of a like story experience and more of a artistic museum experience, like something you'd be able to go back anytime and they're like, this is an artistic piece. In my
yeah.
opinion, it's very yeah artistic. Can I use that word any more times? I'm sure everyone
No,
knows what I'm on about.
it's artistic. We get the picture. Um, right, I said last time first. You say this time first. Which one you think should win best indie game of the year?
We like so I'm torn between two, but I'm gonna go away from the popular opinion because this is me and you, and I know you. I'm pretty sure you're gonna choose the same one as me, and it's gonna be Spelunky 2 for me.
Okay.
Maybe
Care
you're
to
not gonna
explain
choose that.
why?
Yeah, Spelunky 2 is just obviously a better version of the first Spelunky, and Spelunky was probably one of the most stupid fun games we've ever played. Like the amount of time we would spend sat down in front of a TV, just eating some Pringles, um, having a joke, and we would just run through this game, dying every like two floors because I'd try to blow up this this wall to get to this chest, and I'd throw a bomb, and it would trigger a trap that I didn't realize, which would bounce off a wall and smack you in the head, which would knock you in front of the bomb, and then you'd blow up and anger a spider that would then run after me and kill me, all because we wanted to get to a chest on the other side of a wall. It's just it's that kind of stupid fun that I just have never
Yeah,
found anywhere else in any other game,
yeah,
and it's an experience that to me, like having fun with your friends is probably one of the ultimate best experiences I ever have with gaming.
yeah. I agree.
And so that is why Spelunky 2 wins for me best indie.
Mm-hmm. Fair
What
enough.
what about you?
Um, I would have to say that I completely agree.
Yeah,
Spelunky 2.
knew it.
Spelunky 2 would be the winner for me. Um, I think that all the games mentioned are very good in their specific game design, their play style, everything. All the games that have been mentioned for this award are so very good and definitely all worth having a go at least.
They're all very
Um,
different as well, though, aren't they?
yeah, they're all very, very different. I'd love to have a good go on Carry On just because of the niche style of it. I'd love to have a really good go on Hades. I've had a go on Fall Guys. Wasn't my cup of tea, but I can see why it's really enjoyable and I can see why it's really popular and I see why people would want to play it because it is quite funny and it's quite goofy. The only downside for me when I played it was that if I got through one game, I'd be thrown into the next one without really any explanation of what I'm supposed to do. I just have to sink or swim. And if you're just picking up a game to try it and you feel like you're sinking or swimming for like 5 games in a row, you're a bit like, don't really want to play this anymore. But then once you get past that, there's so much more enjoyment in it because you know then what you're doing and you know what every game entails, so you can just go with it, you
Yeah,
know?
Yeah, I know. I get you.
Um, Spiritfarer, I think it looks gorgeous. It looks very artistic, as someone said to me before. Um,
Yeah, did I mention there's a really good art style in that game?
yeah, I think you did. Uh, I don't think it would be really my cup of tea again because it seems very slow paced. It almost seems like a meditation game, like a game that you just play to really have a nice chill, to just take it easy, to not have to worry about anything, to just enjoy playing. A bit like Animal Crossing and like a bit like Stardew Valley and things like that.
Really, you'd
Where
can. I mean, okay, I wouldn't compare it to those games, but okay.
just in like how I comprehend that style of game. Like it's like a relaxed, chilled game that you wouldn't pick up if you wanted to like have an action, fast paced, like think on your feet kind of game. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
like it's not one of those games that you pick up to try and keep on your toes to beat the enemy team or whatever. Like it's a completely different style of game to Hades, where you're literally in combat all the way through the game. You have to keep thinking about what you're going to be doing next. Whereas Spiritfarer, I feel, is a lot more relaxed, a lot more chilled, a lot more laid back. In fact, it's very different to all the games on this category, I think, because all of them you have to think on your feet in some aspect, especially Spelunky, because if you don't think on your feet, you die on your feet. Um, but yeah, Spiritfarer, a lot more of a chilled, laid back kind of style, in my
You're
opinion.
talking a lot about Spiritfarer, to be fair, so it's clearly left an impression on you.
It has. It has left a really interesting impression on me. Um, whether that's for good reasons or bad reasons, I'm not inclined to say. Because I don't really know, to be honest. I don't really know what to expect from it. I'd like to have a go at it to see what it's all about and get more of a feel for it all. But yeah, yeah. Should we announce
Okay.
the real life winner?
Yeah, so for Best Indie Game Award, the winner was Hades. And
Yes.
I'll be honest, that's fine. It's a good game.
Yeah.
It is a good
Yeah.
game, and it is just as worthy of winning that award. I think it's the first in its series. I feel like that carries a bit more weight over the likes of Spelunky.
Yeah.
Um, Spelunky's definitely more like the same game, but with lots of cool add-ons to it. While
Yeah.
Hades is a new entry, and it's I was going to call it a franchise, but I don't feel like we can call it that yet.
No. And I do feel like if you hadn't played Spelunky before and you literally picked up all these games for the first time and played them for like 10 minutes to try and assess what one you think would be best, I think Hades would probably win on that aspect anyway. Because I feel like Spelunky, if you've not played with a friend and you've not experienced the humor that comes
Well,
with playing
yeah,
with someone else, it doesn't really have the same impact. Spiritfarers, I feel like you need to play it for a long time to really enjoy every aspect of it. Fall Guys, same issue I said with playing it for the first time. Like you don't know what's going on and you kind of sink or swim. And Carry On, I feel like would have the same enjoyment when you play it for the first time with fresh eyes as Hades would. But I think Hades is slightly edging on is slightly above with the gameplay, the customization, and multiple other aspects.
yeah. No, I certainly agree. I think though, yeah, Hades worthy of that
Yeah,
winning title. So we'll try and speed through a few of these. See, we not I say speed through, just like not half an
not take an
hour.
hour to discuss every single
Yeah,
game.
for a few of these, maybe until we get like for this one specifically. So we've got best mobile game is the next award.
Yeah,
Um, not really my forte, mobile games. I'm an avid like nope, don't like mobile games because you have to play on a screen and controls don't have any feedback on a screen.
mm-hmm.
And I find almost every game struggles to provide a good touchscreen experience apart from the likes of puzzle games and card games, of which they're fine. So the nominations for best mobile game were Among Us,
mm-hmm.
Call of Duty Mobile,
Mm-hmm.
Genshin Impact, Legends of Runeterra, which is a card game based on League of
League of
Legends.
Legends.
Yep. And Pokemon Cafe Mix. I
Yes.
gotta be honest, when I see the lineup here, this is gonna be really presumptuous of me. I feel like there must not have been a lot of good games that year for these to be the options.
Ouch.
I feel like it's an obvious which game won, so I'm not really going to beat around the bush. My favorite game this year out of those five is Among Us. Um, it won because I just love the social anxiety that it causes in people.
Very
Like,
true.
even now, I'm sus of you, boy. I'm so sus. Some of
You should be.
the plays that I do, like the play we did with you, was just amazing. I love it so much where we're just playing so coy, we're acting like nothing's wrong, yet we know each other's the imposter, so we're going around and causing a ruckus. And yet just deviating pressure off of each other enough that no one knows it was us. And then like
Yeah.
the
The
betrayal
pure
as well.
plays.
Just it's one of those, again, the same as Spelunky. It's the whole socially enjoyable experience that you have with your friends that makes
Yeah.
this. And I just want to make one thing clear. We are talking about playing the game with voice chat, not playing it with typing to people.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that they're two different games, in my opinion. Like, sometimes when you play with people online, they're just annoying idiots. They don't care. They just point blame, and it's hard to catch tones of lying. But when we're actually talking to each other, I feel like it's just completely different. So
Yeah.
for
Definitely.
me, Among Us, it's a no-brainer. Genshin Impact is probably second on that list for me. The other three, I've played all of them. I'm not interested in any of them, honestly. Like, no.
Fair. For me, my choice is fairly obvious. I wouldn't choose Among Us. It would Among Us would be second in my opinion for this one, purely because I would never play Among Us on a whim on my own, just join a random game and play it because it's a game that you play with your friends, and I enjoy playing it with my friends and with you guys, obviously. Um, However, a game like Genshin Impact, I can just pick up and play whenever, wherever, however many times I want to, and still enjoy it, and be able to play that for hours on end without needing to be with friends for me to feel like I would enjoy it. Whereas Among Us is so heavily communicational based with other people, and I feel like I wouldn't get the same enjoyment if I wasn't playing it with a group of people that I knew with voice chat. And I can completely understand why having text talking to each other would be so much less interesting because, like you say, it would just be pointing blame at other people in the room, which
They don't get us wrong.
isn't that great.
That it's still many people love just even with it just text chat, still
Oh yeah,
love playing the game. For Charlotte, for example, she would play that for literally weeks on end, just non-stop with text chat. Um, and I don't know. I feel like yes, you need to be able to organize a party to play together for it to be like that perfect experience. And I get that that's not as easy to do, but when you do it, would you not say, at least at that time when you do have everyone together, that it's more enjoyable than Genshin?
um,
Or are you going to say that you enjoy the grind just that much?
I do enjoy the grind. I'm not gonna lie. I finally understand what you've
Uh,
been going through with Warframe for the past 5 years or however long it's been out. Um,
Longer than 5 years.
yeah, but yeah, those two are clearly the high standards of those of that category. Call of Duty Mobile, there's literally no point. Like trying to aim a gun on a mobile device would be more or less impossible, especially for a sniper player like me. There's no point.
And as soon
Um,
as you start talking about attaching controllers, then you already lost the argument.
yeah, because it's no longer a mobile game.
Like,
It's
do you?
basically a controller operated game which you could play on any system.
The point is, you're able to pop this out on your phone anywhere you are and be able to play. Not that you have a big bag and you pull out a controller every time. So,
Yeah, exactly.
no.
Um, Legends of Runeterra played it. It was all right.
Yeah, it's
Didn't.
fine. It's another card game, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
like I didn't realize it was on mobile. I might download it on my iPad or something and play it later just to have a
But
laugh.
then there's loads of other mobile games that are card games that do the same. They just didn't come out last year. You've got Hearthstone, you've got
True.
Magic the Gathering, you've got Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm pretty sure they haven't released Pokemon TCG on mobile, but it's on iPad. um,
Yeah.
I mean, all those games are essentially the same. They
Yeah.
are an enjoyable card game experience that have slightly different rules. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a card game. It's fine.
And the real life winner of that category was.
Didn't even mention Pokemon Cafe Mix.
I mean,
Just ignored it.
I I love the Pokemon franchise. Don't give a shit about the Pokemon Cafe mix at all. Um,
I think
like,
I reckon that people that like to have a drink out in public, maybe at Starbucks or they're waiting around for a bus, maybe Pokemon Cafe mixes. But I can't imagine you're gonna want to sit down on your sofa watching TV and play Pokemon
yeah,
Cafe Mix.
it's not for me. Like, I love Pokemon puzzle games as much as the next guy, but I think I'm going to draw the line at that.
Maybe a bit far there, yeah. Pokemon
Yeah.
Picross is like your limit, right?
Oh no, I love Pokemon Picross. I'll play that for hours if I haven't already finished the whole blooming thing.
Oh dear.
Um,
Go on then. What was
however,
the real life winner?
real life winner was, drum roll please,
Oh, stop it.
Among Us, which I personally
Yeah.
disagree with, but there we go.
Yeah, I know. I think you're just a little crazy for Genshin, a bit more than
I
you
am.
realize, despite
I am.
admitting to all these faults. You're like, yeah, it's still up there for me.
I am. I am a bit too obsessed with it, to be fair.
Right. Next is best action. Let's quickly find these action games.
So
There we
the
go. A couple we've
nominations
already heard
were
of.
Doom Eternal, which we mentioned, Hades, which we mentioned for the third time, Half-Life Alex,
Alex, yep.
Neo 2, and Streets of Rage 4. Blimey. Number 4.
It's weird, isn't it? Like Streets of Rage being a action game. It does catch me a bit weird because it is an action game, but it feels like a fighting game.
Yeah.
Like it's very much to me a fighting game. But yeah, it's not your traditional like one on one side, one on the other fight. It is a beat 'em up brawler, so it does come under action, I guess. Okay. Who did it first last time? It was me last time, wasn't
You.
it? Yes.
I'd say for me, the winner of this category would have to be Hades. Um, purely because its best action is not most gory game of the year. Let's be honest. Like
That gore really.
Half-Life, Alex, Neo 2, and Doom Eternal. They're too gruesome for me. I don't like the goriness of them. And like the fact is, people are probably playing these games when they're way too young to be playing them. These are all probably going to be 18 plus.
Look,
And I can imagine
okay,
6-year-old boys playing these games.
Stop.
It's awful.
Stop. That is to do with parenting, okay?
True.
If parents let their kids play 18 games when they're 9, then they need to be looking at their kids' PlayStation, Xbox, whatever, and putting on parental controls. Okay, my brothers misbehave, and we've done that. We've locked down their systems. They cannot play, even if they have a disc copy of the game. Those games. You should not be saying, "Well, this is rated 18, but 9-year-olds are going to play it, so it's not good."
True. I just think personally, for me, they're a bit too gory. I think I'd probably like to play Neo 2, just because I'm curious about it and I think it looks quite interesting from what I've seen. Streets of Rage 4, not really interested in at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you not like Battletoads?
I mean, I enjoyed playing it at 4 o'clock in the morning, but I think I'd enjoy playing anything at 4 o'clock in the morning, to be honest.
Really? I'd rather be asleep at 4 o'clock in the morning, but you do you.
Fair. Like, the best bit about that game was doing that blooming motorcycle bit where neither of us could function highly enough to move between three lanes effectively.
The reason that was your favorite bit is because we were both failures and couldn't manage a basic, like the
Yeah,
first instance of a tutorial.
literally. Um, but yeah. Um, I all these messages coming up are very distracting. Um, but yeah, Hades wins it for me. What's your opinion,
Hades,
Andy? Let me
for
tell you why
me,
you're wrong.
it's please tell me why I'm wrong. I like discussions. You need to argue back. So for me, it's very clearly got to be Doom Eternal.
Really?
Yeah, no, go on. Tell me why I'm wrong. um,
Um, carry on. You can keep talking, and then
yeah,
I'll tell you why
yeah,
you're
yeah.
wrong.
I'm gonna keep it as brief as I can. I love it. It's an action-based, real fast-paced shooter, and I just love the feel. It just feels so good going around killing all these demons. Um, yes, it's a bit annoying when you think about the ammo problems in that game, but honestly, I feel like it's more people who aren't good at it bitching about it than it is people genuinely with the problem. Like, you get ammo by using the chainsaw, just don't spam the chainsaw unless you need ammo. Like, it's not hard. Um, but otherwise, yeah, it's just a fun game, and I don't play it for the gore. That's not something I ever think about. Like, yes, it's gory, but it's also a lot of fun. There's quite a bit like there are bits where I get stuck and I'm confused, and I'm like, wait, how do I get past this? Like, damn, there's a puzzle here. And then there are other times when I manage to find a way around to get to the end of the mission that wasn't intended, and I like that. I like that part that they've actually allowed you to do that sometimes. But it's just good old fashioned doom slaying, just upped and revamped again, and I love it.
Between that and
Um,
Hades.
Hades for me comes third. Half Life Alex comes second. I think it was a VR only experience, but it picks up. It's in the Half Life series. You know, we've been waiting ages for that. And although I personally am not an avid Half Life player, I'm not obsessed with it. I'm not like crazy about it. I know a lot of people were, and I feel like it was a big entry. And the fact that they made it VR only is a real interesting choice. Yeah, second place for me that one.
See,
Hades
I
third.
feel like Afterlife limits itself by making itself a VR only game, and for that reason alone, I feel should be at the bottom of this list personally
But then
because
when are we ever going to get a top tier, fully fledged story game or game at all that's AAA on VR? Like, when are we going to start saying, yeah, VR is actually becoming a platform we can play games on?
well, there's nothing to say that it shouldn't be a platform that we can play games on, but I think personally the I'd say it would probably be fourth on my list because I really don't feel the I'm not a big fan of the play style of Streets of Rage, but I don't know. I feel like making a game VR at this stage in the technological advancements kind of limits what can be done with it, and makes the gameplay fragmented. Like I remember seeing gameplay of it, and it had the same cliche thing of pointing to where you want your feet to go and then just teleporting there. That just destroys the whole realism of being in the game, being able to just teleport from one area to another. I remember playing on your Oculus Quest maybe over a year ago now, and being in a zombie game and being surrounded by zombies and managing to just teleport 5 times in one direction, and then suddenly, oh, everything's fine again because I just
I feel
teleported
like
through the enemies.
you need to play more VR games and ones that don't do that. And then I think you'll start to realize the like limitations.
Oh no, I know the
Playing
limitations because you want to
games,
make it so people um, aren't feeling motion sick from moving and not really moving, and obviously they have those limitations, the fact that you control your upper body but you can't really control your lower body apart from using the analog stick, which then brings in those nauseous feelings of not being able to move properly. um, I understand that. However, you cannot deny that it does break the realism and the immersion of being in a VR game by being able to just teleport from one spot to the other.
I'll be honest, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't take me out of the game anymore. No, definitely
Really?
not. Yeah, when I play those games, when you teleport around the room, it's completely fine. You're not teleporting from here up 2 flights of stairs and onto the next balcony. You're teleporting like 5 feet, 10 feet. You're taking cover, dealing with the enemies. You teleport around the corner. You grab whatever items you need. Like, no, I definitely don't think that it breaks the illusion at all.
Okay. So going back to my original question then, why is Hades third and Doom Eternal first when all you've said about Doom Eternal that isn't in Hades is a chainsaw that gets you ammo?
The two games are completely different, and I enjoy playing Doom Eternal, while Hades is definitely an interesting game, but it's not something that I haven't seen rehashed somewhere before.
But you could
Dungeon
say that with
crawlers are
Doom
very
Eternal.
samey.
It's,
Doom
it's
Eternal
essentially
is
a
Doom.
FPS, which you could have in the form of
No, there's
Halo.
so many people that this Doom as a shooter is nothing at all like any other shooter that I play. No,
Really?
completely different experience. Those games are all, pick up different weapons off the floor, manage your like ammo reserves, take cover, deal with the enemies as you go. Doom Eternal is just like, don't even bother taking cover. Just literally mow them down as fast as you can. And if you're not fast enough at killing things, then you die because you're not getting enough health pickups. Like,
Right.
it's a completely different experience.
Okay. Well, I'll take your word for it. Um, but I don't play any kind of FPS in that style. I'm always the duck and cover, fight for your position, and move forward kind of player.
That might be
Whereas
quite a
I
big
know for a
reason
fact that
why.
you're more of a upfront machine gun, shotgun kind of guy anyway. Even when we play Ghost Recon, you're first in the room, and I'm like, dude, there's like five guys in there. What are you doing?
Yeah, I think that might be a lot to say to do with the difference in our like, yeah, they do let you do sniper shots in Doom, but I mean, it's not really. I mean, you're gonna struggle. It's a lot of short corridors, a lot of small areas, and it's pretty slow. And the sniper isn't that great anyway. So yeah, it really
Fair.
does force you. But again, like you're gonna take damage, and the only way you're gonna heal is if you get up and kill them in their
Yeah,
face. So yeah, I can
fair.
see why we've got a difference there. But no, I wouldn't say at all Hades and Doom Eternal are anywhere near similar.
Okay. Well, now that we've had our opinions, who actually won this
We all know
category?
who won this category. It was Hades again. Yep,
Yes.
Hades has won. What is that now? The second from the ones that we've said. Best indie as well. It won, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but didn't win Game of the Year.
No, it did not win Game of the Year. No, that was reserved for a different title. Um,
Yes.
that was Last of Us. Right. Action and adventure. Best action adventure game. Who's
Best
gonna read
action
this one
adventure
out?
game. I'll read it.
Go
We've
for
got
it.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Ghost of Tsushima, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and Last of Us Part 2.
Yes, quite a collection. It's a bit harder than some of them because this has got 6 games rather than the 5 of
Yeah.
many others.
And the thing that defines this from being different to an adventure or an action game is because it's the best action slash adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. So there needs to be some puzzles, there needs to be some action, there needs to be some adventuring. And I think we can all agree that at least the first 5 have those aspects.
I mean, I mean the 6th one's got it as well.
I mean, it must have to be in this category, but I've not seen a great
Last of
deal
Us
of it.
is, yeah.
Um, my personal favorite of these would probably be Star Wars Jedi. We just had a message saying Assassin's Creed barely manages that from Martin. So
And yeah,
maybe I'm wrong. I'd say Star Wars does all those things beautifully the entire game. There's so many puzzles, so much adventure, so much action. ticks all the boxes for me, should be the winner, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, I would agree with Martin saying that Assassin's Creed barely manages that. Probably because they are in the game, but the game's so buggy that you hardly even get to those points, and if you do, it's probably broken anyway.
Fair.
Um, yeah, I think for me, obviously, Ghost of Tsushima wins. It's um, I feel like that's less of an interesting topic for me though. I feel like what's more interesting is what I put at the bottom.
What would you put at the bottom?
And this is where this is where I think most people will disagree with me. I am truly against popularity, apparently. The Last of Us Part 2 is bottom of the bunch. I don't need to say why again. I said that earlier. I just think it's too cinematic, not
I'd have
enough
to agree with you, to be
gameplay,
honest.
not
I
decent. And yeah,
I was
go
going to
on.
say I'd put that at the bottom of
You
my list
agree?
as well, because I feel like all the other games have such niche styles to them. They're all so particular. They're all so engaging, so dramatic, so much more freedom about them. Like they're all fairly like open worldish. Like Fallen Order, you can go to different planets in different orders and do different parts of the story at different times. Um, like Spider-Man, you get to explore all of New York City. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is so much about going through all the different paths you can go down and stuff, and so much character development and character customization. Assassin's Creed
Character
Valhalla is a
customization or character progression?
progression. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Ghost of Tsushima, like you said earlier, there's a lot of choice between which path you want to go down, and you can determine which way you want to play the game. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, just Assassin's Creed in itself, is the embodiment of all those things. And I feel like, as we've discussed before, Last of Us Part 2 is just very straightforward gameplay, play through the story, and that's, like you say, it's like a Netflix TV show. You just follow the
Yeah,
story quite
like
chronologically.
if I wanted to play The Last of Us, I'd just turn on Netflix and I don't watch TV, so that's not happening.
Yeah.
Uh, I do criticize that game a lot. But the other game that's on the bottom of my list is Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Really?
I will go ahead and say, first of all, I don't like superhero games. Can't
Mm-hmm.
stand them. They really, really bug me. Um, I've always found them very boring, very tedious. They just take the place of this powerful superhero who is a wannabe or is so powerful that there's some make-believe villain that they have to fight. I find it so much more interesting in the cinema screens than I do on TV. On video games.
Yeah.
And then Miles Morales hits me somewhere even worse because I feel like they've only rehashed the original, the like, Spider-Man game. I can't remember what it was called, like Amazing Spider-Man. I don't know.
Marvel's
This
Spider-Man.
Marvel Spider-Man. I guess that kind of makes sense given the name is Marvel Spider-Man. But it's they just added a few extra ways you can play slightly and put another story in it. And again, when it comes down to experiences, gameplay is forefront for me. And the fact that I can get the same experience from a game released 3 years ago and not care. Granted that that was highly rated and people loved it, and so props to it. I'm not saying that it's a bad game. I'm just saying that it's not developed from the original.
It is slightly different. The whole
Yes,
idea of Miles Morales, he has different powers to what the normal Spider-Man has. He has like this ability to control electricity to some degree, I think, as well as the normal things. And I think it's also a good testament to um, black people as well, because Miles Morales is himself black, and I think it's a real representational video game, personally, and I think it does it
but
very
then
well.
I feel like you get caught in this awkward situation where representation like when people say, "Hey, this is a representation of black people and such," then I feel like it like don't get me wrong, I'm not nothing negative towards that whole side of things or not being racist here at all. But I feel like it's put in there for the sake of representation, not for the sake of story or for anything good. And I would never comment on it. I'm happy that the character Miles Morales is Miles Morales. There's no problem there with that. Like he is who he is.
Yeah,
I just I don't feel like he needed to be that because they wanted a good representation of black people. I feel
yeah, I
like
get that.
there's nothing wrong with them anyway, and trying to show them as a superhero makes no difference to me as a decent human being who isn't racist anyway.
Yeah, I
It's
get
kind
that.
of like when, and this is really out of there, like Doctor Who and making the Doctor being a female is like, I feel like they did that for the sake of trying to make a point that they're not like hey, look, the Doctor can be female as well, and women are great.
Yeah,
And again, women are amazing. I'm not in any way sexist either, but I still feel like they do things for the sake of it.
yeah, being inclusional for the sake of being inclusional
And
instead of being inclusional for just because it's normality. But does it not say something? We're going completely off topic here, but does it not say something that having a black superhero in a game makes us think there is including it for the sake of including it instead of including it just because it's normal? Does that not say how bad it
no,
is that
it
we think of it
always
as being inclusional?
no, because it's like The Last of Us Part Two. It's the same sort of situation where I feel like it's like again, I wouldn't have noticed or even said anything about it. I was just happy with the character as he is, Miles Morales, first of all. No problem with it. The only reason I'm mentioning this is because you said about him being a black superhero. And
Yeah,
it's that point where I'm saying, okay, like The Last of Us Part 2, I felt like it's completely fine having lesbians in the game. I have nothing wrong with that. But I felt like it was kind of, again, they kind of do it to make a statement like, hey, the community, we support you. We're there for you. This is normal. And I'm like, yes, that's fine. Yes, there's nothing wrong with having a lesbian in the game, but don't make it feel almost so forced because and the reason it felt forced was because they did this whole trailer when they first announced The Last of Us Part 2, and it was just the two of them dancing, and they were going on about how they loved each other, and everyone was clapping like, yeah, there are lesbians in a video game. And it's like, you should just see these things in a game and be happy they're there, not wow, it's just happened. Like, wow, there's a black superhero. Wow, there's a lesbian. Wow, like just wow, there's a female doctor. No, no, just it should just be a good thing it's in there, not a statement.
yeah,
Like
right.
by stating it out, you are then pointing out the problems that are there to a point where you're making it more aware to people who don't know about it, like
Yeah,
children, who then ask like, why is this a big deal to people?
yeah, I get you. Anyway, moving swiftly on, the winner of that category was, in fact, Andy, do the honors.
The Last of Us Part 2.
Yes, one neither of us wanted to be the winner.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it won a lot of a lot of awards. Like even awards we've
Yeah,
skipped over. The Last of Us Part 2 won those awards.
yes,
It's fine. It just for me again, part of my feelings towards the way that they choose the winners of these games,
yeah.
these awards. Sorry,
Right. Next category we have is best role playing game or best
yes,
RPG if you're in with the lingo.
which is an awkward one for me.
So
I feel like we all know whose this is going to be for you. So let's read out the nominees.
the nominees are Final Fantasy VII Remake, Genshin Impact, Persona 5 Royal or Royale, Wasteland 3, and Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Now, before we go anywhere, can we just point out Yakuza Like a Dragon just owns what it is. It's so
Yeah,
Japanese.
it's so Japanese, it's almost comical.
Like
And for that
They
reason,
did a great
it
they did a great
wins.
job. For that reason, it wins. Moving on. No. I find it weird that it's like a role playing game, but then same as Wasteland 3, bit weird it's a role playing game. But hey, they're in the same competition for here, so we're gonna have to try and decide out of all these games which one's the best, despite them being different games
Yes.
entirely. Go
My
on.
personal choice for winner would be Genshin Impact.
It's the third time you've given that award now. Hmm.
um, or
Okay,
Yakuza, Like a Dragon, to be
why
fair.
is Genshin Impact winning for role playing game? Like the other awards, you gave
Because
it fine. Why role playing?
because there's so many different characters in this game that you can play as, and each of them have their own derived backstory, their own characterization, their own personalities, and they all come to life as you're playing these characters. And I think it does it in such a nice way, and you really feel like you get to know the characters to an extent, and each character will in turn get their own story given to them and their own storyline that you can play through and their own chapters that you can play as. And some of them have already been out, like we've played the first chapter of Child's story and Mona's story and um, what's the little fire girl called again? What's
Yeah,
her
I
name?
mean you're on about yeah. It's
Clee.
like
Thank you, Martin.
I was gonna say you want about like the one with the bow. Yeah, you're on about
um,
Clee.
but they have released sections of the game that you play through just to understand the character's story better and get to know why they're there, what they're about, what they do, who they are as a person. And there's so many more character stories to come out where you're going to find out more about the characters. Like I want to know about Bidao or Bidu or however you say her name. I want to know what her story is. She looks like a pirate. Her story says that she's got a ship. What's going on? What's her story? Let me play
And
through her story.
that's all well and good, but you're giving this an award for something that hasn't happened yet. Like, yes, you want to. How
Yeah,
many actual story arcs are there for you to get to know all these different characters that you play as that have actually been released for you to play through? I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around about like four,
I'm pretty sure it's more like 8.
eight now. Okay, eight. And how many characters are there that you can play as?
About 28 ish.
Okay. Okay, we've got one from Ansky saying these games ain't got nothing on Rune Factory 4, and I would agree with you totally. That would easily be my winner, Rune Factory 4. But even though it did come out in 2020, it is a rehash of a game that came out in like 2014.
See, I would say
But then
that
Persona 5's there, so who knows?
I would say that Star Wars should be on there as well.
Censor him out. Star Wars. You think that's a
Yeah, it's
a
a role
good
playing game, and I think it deserves to be on there because it is solely centered around playing as that character.
and again, and Martin wants to point out his love for Persona 5, which is amazing. Trust me, it hurts me. I want to pick that. Um, but you have to think that we're choosing these games because of how they play as a role-playing game. And don't you
Yeah,
feel like it comes better under what was it under originally?
action adventure or something. No, it wasn't action adventure. It was adventure or something like that, wasn't it?
Um, just thinking, going through now if I can find it, but I don't think I can.
It wasn't
It
best
was
performance.
it was nominated for a different category, which I think might be the reason why it's not in this category then.
I mean, you say that, but Last of Us Part Two has come up in like 17 different categories.
Yeah, because it's clearly a pinnacle of gaming according to these nominate. I would not have given it this many personally. It should not
Yeah,
have been in this many awards.
yeah, I agree.
Um, that was it. Best action adventure.
Oh, I was right.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So so I would feel that it would comes better under action adventure than role playing. Like
Yeah, true.
when you say role playing, you say RPG, and when you say RPG, well, that doesn't really like. It's more like character progression, item
There is a lot of
stats,
character
and
progression in there, though, but by the end of the game, you can have every skill possible in the game.
Okay,
So
but would you not say that these games that are in front of us, like Persona 5, Genshin Impact, and Final Fantasy, are more of your traditional style of role-playing games?
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I'm surprised Cyberpunk
it
20
came out too late. It can't be on this
something
list.
or
It'll
other.
be next year.
Fair.
Yeah.
In which case, that will definitely be a nomination for this, I think.
Let's hold your horses there.
Which game would you say would be best RPG? I think I've got an idea of which one you're going to say, to be honest.
It is real tough for me. Real tough for me. So
Really?
ruling out, first of all, Wasteland 3 doesn't, to me, feel like a role-playing game. It is, but it doesn't
Okay.
feel like it. So I'm ruling that out. Yakuza is just dumb fun. I love it, but it's not up there for me.
Yeah.
Genshin isn't finished, and thus it doesn't qualify for me as a game worth mentioning at all.
Yeah.
Um, so then it's between Persona 5 Royal and Final Fantasy 7. And I would love to give it to Persona 5 Royal. Love to. It's such good developments they added into that game over the original that I played through it a whole another time. And I'm still, again, trying my third playthrough soon. I'm in the middle of it and I'm loving the game so
Oh
much,
my
so
gosh.
much. But I feel like because it's in this list, it needs to be graded on just what it added to Persona 5 and not the Persona 5 core, because that is a separate game that was released like what 4 or 5 years ago now.
So you're going to go for
So
Yakuza Like a Dragon?
Persona 5 Royal, unfortunate. No, I'm not going for Yakuza Like a Dragon. Persona 5 Royal will not be classed as a winner for me just because of the fact that the amount it added in, though good, is not enough for an entire award.
Fair.
So for me, it goes to the Final Fantasy VII remake, which is a great game. It really does. It does stand on its own 2 feet. There, it does have its flaws. It's not perfect. It doesn't, it does need that extra story. They do need to take out a lot of the filler. But
Mm-hmm.
the gameplay is good. The gameplay is good, and it is a Final Fantasy game. Leave me alone.
Weeb.
I'm being bullied by the chat now.
Too right. And the actual winner of this category was.
I'm not doing
Drum roll,
another drum
please.
roll. You can do the drum roll yourself.
Final Fantasy VII Remake,
Yeah,
Part 1.
it's not called part one. Yeah, I don't know if it hadn't been Final Fantasy VII, I feel like it should have gone to Despite What to Yakuza Like a Dragon out of the other four.
Really? You really are hating on Genshin this competition, this award ceremony.
Weeps too. Well,
Apparently, the Game Award people are weebs too, according to Anthony.
that, or maybe maybe Anthony is just the anti-weeb.
Maybe.
Genshin
Maybe.
Impact does not deserve very many awards other than ongoing. And was it even in there? It wasn't. It's not
No,
been going
because
long
it's
enough.
not been ongoing for
It's
long enough.
not a finished game. It is not finished, and there are plenty of problems with it. The game
Fair.
is a microtransaction filled mess at the moment.
Okay. Well, on that note,
It's still a great game. Still a great game.
you can read out um, the nominees for best fighter game whilst I pop to the loo.
Okay. I knew it. At least you're leaving us this time. That's the good thing. Okay, so for best fighting game, we have, and this was a hard one. We don't play a lot of fighting, so we've got Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, Street Fighter 5 Champion Edition, One Punch Man, A Hero Nobody Knows, and Under Night in a Birth Under Night in Birth XE Latte CLR. Quite the name. Um, this is kind of one of those ones where you've got like the main fighting games. We've got Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate and Street Fighter 5 Champion Edition. These two games are massive cult following fighting games where people love them. Mortal Kombat specifically for the gore and the way they've gone about their fighting styles with like finisher moves where you can rip people's spines out. And then you've got Street Fighter for its sort of competitiveness, because Street Fighter, you've got all of these different attack combos, which are how you properly compete with other people in competitive scenarios. So it's quite a good game for those who want to really hash out who's the best at something rather than just mashing buttons.
Which one's that? Mortal Kombat?
We were talking about Street Fighter there.
Okay.
Um, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus and Under Night In-Birth Xe are your standard anime fighting games. Like,
Hmm.
they're animated, they're anime characters, and they're not really much more. Like I say, they're 2D, a bit like Blaze
Yeah.
Blue. Um, they both look good. For me, there's an obvious winner out of those two specifically. But I feel like if you took someone who didn't know anything about these games and looked at both of them, they would easily think that they were the same game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Animal Crossing sadly did not make it into best fighting game category.
wonder
Um,
why.
I feel like people forget that in Animal Crossing you can go over to other people's islands, wield an axe, and then go smashing their villagers with it. And the bug net makes people so angry. Like,
Apparently. Unless you're taking fleas off their hair, in which case they
then they
can't
love
control
you
it.
until you then hit them again.
Yeah.
um, the last one we haven't mentioned is One Punch Man, and yes, it's another anime fighting game. It's a bit more. It's a 3D one this time.
Yeah.
So they're like similar to Naruto and such. This one holds a special place for me. Like, I'm gonna say which one wins for me, and it is One Punch Man.
Yeah.
I
I
just
agree.
love how dumb and stupidly fun it is. Like, the rest of them are just they're serious fighting games. This one, you go up against these really tough bosses with your characters, and they will kick your ass, and you have to survive for 2 minutes. And then once those 2 minutes are up, One Punch Man, he just runs in, takes over, you take control of him. And those bosses that were kicking your ass now do no damage, and that you don't
Hmm.
even flinch, and then you just press the punch button and instant, like, it's obviously in the name. It's One Punch Man, but
Yeah.
I just love how dumb and stupidly fun it is.
But I love, and it gets points for me purely because it sticks to the form. It destroys the formula that other anime games have made, which is all anime fighting games put everyone at roughly the same power level. And we were discussing before the podcast about how a game like a Naruto fighting game or a Dragon Ball Z fighting game, you can take someone from the first series of these games and put them against someone from the last series of these games, and it'd be a fair fight. Like, you can't take young Naruto and put him against Kaguya, the like big villain at the very end of the series, and expect Kaguya to not eat him. Like, it would be a ridiculously easy fight. And the same again with a young Naruto against an older version of Sasuke. Sasuke would clearly win that fight in a matter of seconds. Whereas in fighting games, you can put them against each other, and the odds are Naruto, who's younger, could kick Sasuke, who's older's ass.
Yeah,
But
and
One
then you
Punch
have
Man, he comes into the fight, and he is who he is in the anime, a guy who cannot be beaten and kills anyone in a single punch. And I just
which
love the simplicity and the beauty of keeping it like that.
and let's take for a moment. Let's take a step back and say, okay, that seems like a very pointless system in a sense that, well, once you've done that 5 times, it'll get boring because you're waiting 2 minutes, and when One Punch Man comes and saves you, you still got the fact that you can actively beat these bosses. You can beat these people with your weaker fighters. It is just an actual challenge where you need to understand the fighting system to beat these big bad bosses.
Yeah,
And so there's still a degree of challenge in the game that might otherwise be ignored because One Punch Man is a fucking legend. my
literally.
my curse words.
Yes,
Um,
bad words.
so that's my winner from this category. But I
Which
do
would you
want
say
to.
would be better out of the two anime games?
I was gonna say, and for me, it's easily Grand Blue Fantasy versus.
What?
Why?
No, I thought it was easily Under Night in Birth.
I don't know how. Like, it just looks like. And don't get me wrong here again. Like, I feel bad for saying this, but it just looks like your everyday basic rehashed anime fighting game that's been done a million times that studios do for their individual anime.
But they both do.
Grand
They
Blue
both seem
doesn't.
that.
It's they've got a lot of emphasis on character design in Grand Blue, and when you play as those characters, you really do feel like you're taking on not only just character C or D, you're actually taking on the role of this character. You play their style, and it feels like this is how this character should fight, rather than just it being the same kind of move set rehashed over to a different character.
Okay, I'll give you that. I just feel like the actual in combat feel was better in Under Night in Birth than in Grand Blue Fantasy. And I just felt like it was smoother, it was slicker, it had a similar art style as each other, obviously, which is bizarre how they're both in the same category because they are very similar in how they're played. But I just felt like Under Night in Birth had a bit of an edge over it myself. So that's really interesting that we both went for the opposite
Yeah,
game.
I think
How
for me, like
strange.
Under Night was just too anime,
But
while
One Punch
Grand Blue,
Man was perfect.
One Punch Man is the definition of owning what it is.
Very
Okay,
true.
it
Very, very
it
true.
says I am One Punch Man fighting game. I will punch you and you will lose, and it is
Very true.
hilarious.
Very, very true. Where would
Um,
Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter come in your
they're
order then?
they are the same game they always have been.
Yeah.
If I were to completely forget that these franchises ever existed and host these on their own, I think you'd probably find that Street Fighter would probably win. Not Street Fighter. Mortal Kombat would win for me, and then Street Fighter would
Ooh.
come second, then One Punch Man, then Grand Blue, then Under Night. But the fact is, Street Fighter 5 and Mortal Kombat have been done 11
Mortal Kombat
times and five
11.
times. So, I mean, it's the same thing. I feel like I'd pick up 8 and get the same experience.
Yeah, I agree.
It's
Like, I don't see how much they could change it between one rendition to the other, similar to games such as FIFA, which is basically the same game with the more recent players.
yeah, they
Like, I feel like the biggest change with FIFA is if you got FIFA 06 and then play FIFA 20, you'd have all different characters, and then that's like, okay, fair enough, different games. But FIFA 19 and FIFA 20, you're basically playing the same game.
yeah, obviously as the year end editions, they always end up feeling roughly the same. There's not enough time for them to really change. Not that there
No.
is much you can change. Not all of a sudden going to add it so you can. This is true. Martin
Yeah.
says, "No, you're actually playing for a worse game,"
Yeah.
and it's true. I mean, they've seen it. You know, you got NBA. I think it was 2K, and one of the stages that were the exact same, they'd forgot to change the banner in the back, so it still said NBA 19.
No, that's so funny.
I was like, that is ridiculous.
Literally just
Absolutely ridiculous.
copying and pasting and charging you £50 for the same game is
Yeah.
awful. Um, Makes me laugh though, thinking back to Eurogamer last year, how the only reason we ever went anywhere near the FIFA area was to get the Cokes, which was literally outside the front of that area. We got the Cokes and then went, not going anywhere near that, and walked the opposite direction.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, props to them. In the FIFA area, they actually had a football and a goal net. You can
Yeah,
actually go and kick the ball. That's actually good gameplay. It's called football.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
But
I'm not dissing football. I'm just dissing FIFA.
yeah, there are much better football orientated games out there,
We
such as Mario Supercharged Football. At
Yeah.
least they're different characters.
So we're definitely going off topic here. We're talking about best fighting game,
Yeah, I
and
mean, FIFA could be in there somewhere, I'm sure.
no, no,
No.
no, they're too dramatic.
So,
The
who was the real winner
it
of the fighting
And
games?
it's fair. They won this because they do have a massive cult following. Fair play to them. There's nothing wrong with the game. It was Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate.
Yeah,
That was the winner for best fighting game, and
which don't
it's
really
always
agree
going to
with.
be one of those two games. If they release this in that year, it's going to win it unless someone
Yeah,
did something amazing. It's
yeah. And the cult followers of those two games played that game and went, "This is better than Mortal Kombat," which they probably would never do.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
this is Probably my favorite category. I can't wait. I'm gonna have so much to say, and this is gonna go on forever.
Oh
Get
gosh.
settled, get tucked in.
Oh my
Best
gosh.
family game.
Best family game.
Best family game. Um, our options for our nominations are Animal Crossing: New Horizons, Crash Bandicoot 4: It's About Time, Fall Guys: Ultimate Knockout, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, Minecraft Dungeons, and Paper Mario: The Origami King.
Right, I'm just going to rule out straight away Mario Kart Live Home Circuit should not be on this list because it's not really a game. It's literally a remote control car with a little bit of visual stimuli. That is it.
But
Like,
it did something different.
it did do something different. It charged you like 100 quid to be able to play with a mate. That's what it did. Like, you could either play it on your own with no other things anywhere near you apart from the obstacles that the game puts in, or not at all. And then what do you watch? Do you watch the tablet? Do you watch the car driving around? What do you pay attention to? I'd much rather
You,
have a Mario Kart game that I could play on my Switch without the
I
remote
think
control car that
you're
actually enjoyed playing.
you're missing the point here. You're missing the point. So first of all, before we carry on with this point, Anthony says there's only one game in this good game in this category. Say anything else, and we're wrong. So we're probably going to get in trouble here. But he hates every other game in this category. Um, Mario Kart Live Home
Mario
Circuit
Kite.
kart is not for your experienced gamer. I don't think it was ever designed as something that a 26, 27-year-old, 30-year-old, 20-year-old is going to want to pick up and actively play without somebody to play it with or without kids around. You're not going to buy this for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It is definitely marketed towards children.
Yeah.
It's a remote control car. That's an obvious statement. I feel like when you take that out and you think, okay, you've just bought a Christmas present for a child. They're 8 years old. They love their Mario. They love their Pokemon. And you give them a real version of Mario Kart that they can drive around the house and race around, and you can play it with them. They will be ecstatic. The fact that
Mm,
their house, they can sit there and design a course with their Lego, with their like items in their room, and they can make a course. They will love it. I don't for a moment think that this is a bad idea. I just don't think this is an everyone idea. I'm not going to take this to my mum and play this with her at her house.
no.
That's that's not going to happen.
But the thing we've got to keep in mind is the category is best family game.
Yes, family game.
So games that you would want to play with your family,
Yeah,
I'd assume.
and I'm
And
26. My mum's in her like nearly in her. I was about to say something. She's going to tell me off.
oh, tread very carefully, Andy.
My mum's mid 40s. Okay, so it's not for us. Yes, we are a family, but if I have my kids and then 4 or 5 years time, they're starting to play their games, they would love it, and they're my family. They would love to play. I'm not. It's not best kids game category. It's games that you play as a family, and I am not going to want to play Mickey Mouse's Clubhouse reignited Disney version, but I will be happy to play Mario Kart Live Circuit with my kids
Fair.
happily. And
And be that as it may, I genuinely don't think it should still be classified as a game. Honestly. And I
it's a
don't think it
shame.
should be in the best family category. Mario Kart as a standalone thing definitely should be a family game, apart from the Mario Kart Tour, which clearly isn't a family game because you can only play it on one mobile device. Um, but I feel like a family game should be a game that you could all sit around and play at the same time with your family. The idea of something like Fall Guys being a family game, yes, it's bright and colourful. Yes, it's a game that anyone in the family could play, but it's not even couch co-op, so you couldn't even play it as a team of
It,
four with your family.
yeah, if it's not couch co-op, then that instantly rules out being a family
Yeah,
game. I'm not
yeah.
going to go get two PlayStations, two
No,
separate
of
TVs in the
course you're
front
not.
room to play it. No.
No.
But Then you could then argue at the same time, I don't think Crash Bandicoot's two-player, and Animal Crossing you need two Switches.
I mean, with Switches, it's ever so slightly different because it is a handheld game as handheld console as well, and most families do have more than one Switch in a household. Like you have four Switches in your household at one point,
Yeah, we've
and
got
there's
four
literally
in the
two
house
people
at
in
the
your
moment, and
house.
there's only two people here. Look, we both need a Switch and a Switch Lite, okay? They're
Do
completely
you
different
both need a
consoles.
Switch and a Switch Lite?
To be fair, Charlotte doesn't have. She had one and it broke. That's why she's got a second one, but it still
Fair.
works. So technically, we have four. Technically, we
Like
have three.
even in my family, I have a Switch, my sister has a Switch, and my mum has a Switch. If we wanted to, we could all get Animal Crossing. Me and my sister have it anyway. If my mum got it, we could all sit together playing Animal Crossing, and it would be a family game. So I
Yeah,
think
and
Animal
I
Crossing
don't
itself could
like.
be a family game. I still don't think it should
I
be
don't
because of the
disagree.
whole single player aspect of it and the fact that the multiplayer is atrocious.
I'm
But
just
I've already
saying
said
that
that.
our reasoning for Fall Guys not being just because it's you can't play it on the same system kind of then defeats the point of Animal Crossing and other such games, which do also require
But it's very
passing the
different
controller
though
essentially.
because Fall Guys is on PS4 and Xbox. I'm not sure if it's on PS. I'm not actually sure if it's on Xbox or PC. I know it's on PS4 because I played it on PS4. Um, and the game to play that game with someone else in your family, you need another TV, another PS4, another PS4 subscription because there's no local playing with PS4. Like
Okay,
you can't play it
let's
via
change
Bluetooth.
the way we're looking at it. Let's try and give them the biggest benefit of the doubt. Let's say we've got two kids that are in separate rooms, like my brothers, and um, they both got computers, so they don't need a live subscription, just need to own the game. They play it together on there. Could it still then be classed as a family game? Like, it's fun, it's quirky, it's nice and colorful. I feel like that's the only thing that goes for it family ways because you don't work together, you don't help each other. The fun's over in about
A minute if you're really bad at it.
20 minutes, half hour, whatever. And then you're kind of left like, yeah, well, I had my fun. Gonna stop playing it now and do other things with my family.
Mm.
I don't know. It doesn't tick those boxes. But we spent too long on Fall Guys. Um, so did you say which one was your winner? I don't think you did you? You just told me which one
I
isn't shouldn't be on the list.
Yeah, I just said that Mario Kart and Fall Guys really shouldn't be on the list. So it's neither of those two games. Um, I enjoyed Minecraft Dungeons. I didn't like the fact they released DLC for it, which cost nearly as much as the frigging game did to buy. Um, that kind of annoyed me a bit, and I haven't really touched it since the DLC came out because I beat the game on the hardest difficulty, and then I was like, not much else to do. Really interested in playing Paper Mario Origami, and I think I would love to play that with my family. Whether they enjoy it or not is a different matter.
Is it a multiplayer game?
No, but with games like Mario, you literally just sit there and watch other people play it, and you have just as much enjoyment as playing it. I think.
But Paper Mario is RPG though.
True. So it kind of
Like
takes the
I
more
kind of
fun
feel
aspect of
like
it
the
out of
whole
it.
like Mario-esque side of Paper Mario to be playable by
Yeah,
family is kind of gone in that sense when you start saying, "Oh wait, this is a RPG," as your mum's gonna be
yeah.
choosing to throw shells at the opponent, is she?
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. So realistically, that shouldn't be there either. If you think of it like that, because who wants to play a family game? Who goes, oh, let's play a family game? I know. Let's play an RPG that
But
only
at,
one person can play.
at the same time, you could happily have it in front of you on the TV, and the family could sit around and not mind you playing it. It's not exactly a bad idea, but maybe
Mm,
you wouldn't pass it to them to play. I think
maybe.
I think the idea they're going for family here isn't games to play with family, but family friendly games, as in something you could play in front of
Yeah.
kids and it's not going to be a problem.
Yeah. For the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform. So basically, what constitutes to that list is bright colours and less violence.
Yes, which
Basically.
most of those come under other than Minecraft Dungeons, which is
I mean, there's
Like,
not really much blood and gore in Minecraft under
no,
these
there's not
settings.
blood and gore, but it definitely doesn't fall under the bright colors and stuff. Anyway,
True.
anyway,
My winner for this category would be Animal Crossing: New Horizons.
Animal Crossing New Horizons for you. Okay, I feel like for me it's a tough one. Um, Animal Crossing definitely is a family game because I've certainly asked my mum to get it. I've got it. Charlotte's got it, and we do have
I've
ideas
got
to play
it.
it together. You've got it. My brother's got it. Like so many people I know have got it, and it's such an easy game to like convince people to get and want to play with.
Yeah.
Um, I do have a personal love for Crash Bandicoot. I would love to pick this game, but it was a toss up between. I feel like I really am 50-50, maybe 51-49. It's going to have to be Animal Crossing though for me.
Fair enough.
Like I
Um,
just yeah, it falls under that thing where I feel like I can do it with them, whereas Crash Bandicoot, I feel like I'd be doing it and they'd be watching me.
yeah, exactly. So,
We both picked
hey, we got it
correctly.
right. Well, that's
Well,
good. And the
good.
winner of this category was
Animal Crossing New
Animal
Horizons.
Crossing: New Horizons. We got
So
it right.
we got it right. Thank God.
What would have been interesting is if we did this podcast not knowing what had actually won.
What they were. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think knowing which one wins before we talk about it kind of breaks up which one. I'm trying to read it at the same time speaking doesn't work. Yeah. The people who voted got it right for a change as well.
Somehow. Um, right.
Next is
This
multiplayer games,
next,
isn't it?
no. First of all, I want to talk about something. So they've got best sim strategy game, simulation strategy. We're not going to talk about which one we think won. We're gonna instead. I wanted to point out actually that I feel like it's an unfair category. As I said to Corey earlier, it's more like we've taken two completely different genres and compared them together. Like you wouldn't compare StarCraft 2 to The Sims 4, just as they've done, compared Microsoft's Flight Simulator to the likes of Crusader Kings and Gear Tactics and XCOM. And
Yeah.
it's like a simulator about flying a plane compared to a strategy about trying to complete a mission against aliens or building a, I guess, medieval kingdom doesn't doesn't sit well with me. They don't compare. I feel like I'm comparing
No.
Mario to Halo.
Yeah.
It's
It's
not.
just not similar. They're not similar in any way, shape, or form. Like, apart from the fact that, like any game, you take on a role that you wouldn't normally do. So,
Yeah,
should every game be mixed with strategy or just simulator games?
yeah. I mean, Paper Mario is technically a strategy game because it's a role-playing game with items in it.
Yeah.
But then Pokemon's a strategy game because you have to choose which move you. Point is, I don't feel like games that are actually classified as strategy and actually classified as simulation should be grouped together.
Yes, I agree.
So the winner of that category was out of the five options: Crusader Kings, Desperados 3, Gear Tactics, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and XCOM. Chimera Squad was the winner was Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Yeah.
And granted that it's received massive like applauds for all the work they've done and how much effort they've put into making the world, the Earth seem real and the flights seem real. I just could never personally compare that to some of these other games.
Yeah.
I feel like if you remove that out of the way, maybe it'd be easier to compare those four games, but
Yeah. But
it's
like we said, they're not the same category, so they shouldn't really be together.
no.
Um,
So we're gonna move
anyway,
on from that one and to our last category of the day.
which
My oh
is
my, that has taken us a long
multiplayer.
time.
It has. I feel like we're going to have to wrap up quite quickly after this because we've literally been talking for about 2 hours, if
That's
not more.
fine. It makes for a good conversation,
It
good
does.
recording. So
Maybe break it up into parts when you put it on YouTube.
we'll see. We'll
um,
see. Right, best multiplayer. So
our nominees are Animal
go for
Crossing:
it.
New Horizons, Among Us, Call of Duty: Warzone, Fall Guys: Ultimate Knockout, and Valorant.
Now, I personally wasn't completely sure what Valorant was, and so for those who haven't heard of it, because I hadn't even heard of it until it was
No.
mentioned in the Game Awards. It's essentially if you mix CS:GO gameplay with Overwatch. So it's CS:GO, get in, plant the bomb, like 5v5 type missions, but it's not move the cart along the track Overwatch style. It's got your power characters. So, you can have one that can dash forward and up really quickly and throws knives. You've got another one that can, when they die, revive and they can look around corners. You get the point. You get where I'm going with this. It's a really good looking CS:GO Overwatch combo game.
Yeah. Um, Before we start saying which ones we think should have won, can I just point out that under the description of this category it says for outstanding online multiplayer gameplay. The first bit of the description, outstanding online multiplayer gameplay. Why on earth is Animal Crossing on this list? The online
Yeah,
multiplayer
it
gameplay is not outstanding. It's okay. It's good at best. It's not outstanding.
no, it definitely takes the wrong turn here. Animal Crossing, lovely game, but no, the
Yeah.
multiplayer aspects. You can't even give each other fish. You can't even help with each other with the things that
No,
matter, like fish and bugs.
literally.
Um, no,
So for that reason alone, I'm disqualifying Animal Crossing from this list. As much as I
okay.
love it and as much time as I spent on that game, it is far from an outstanding multiplayer game. If it was just looking at these games and going, which one is the best, I'd probably pick Animal Crossing. But because it's a category about which is the best multiplayer game,
You rule
and
it
it's
out.
purely based on the outstanding quote unquote online multiplayer gameplay, it's gone.
So then you're left with four games: Among Us, Call of Duty Warzones, Fall Guys, Ultimate Knockout, and Valorant. Now, two of these are battle royales.
And both of those are gone.
So Fall Guys Ultimate and Call of Duty. Fall Guys is a weird battle royale, family
Oh,
friendly one.
I wouldn't class Fall Guys as a battle royale personally.
It doesn't really, but it kind of still does. You start off with 100 people and you
Yeah,
run through to kind of eliminate everyone.
yeah,
In that sense.
I wouldn't have classed it as battle royale, but you are right. It is literally 100 down to one winner. But I was actually thinking that if I had to choose between these four games, I'd choose between Fall Guys and Among Us
Well,
because
Valorant's not a battle royale.
it isn't a battle royale, but I feel like the multiplayer aspect of Fall Guys is really. I feel like the game itself is so varied. There's so many mini games. It's really fun, really interactive, and I personally, for the
What, from Fall
however
Guys?
long I've played it, yeah, Fall
It's
Guys.
interactive.
Well, it's interactive when you play the game. It's not like interactive gameplay. It's not like you are interactive while playing. It's not like you're playing on a Nintendo Wii. You've got a controller in your hand.
No, but that's what I'm saying. You're saying it's got interactive multiplayer gameplay, so you interact with other players,
Well, yeah, in a
other
sense,
than
like.
drag them around for gameplay.
I mean,
Like,
in a sense, you do. I mean,
would you say you get the opportunity to like wave at someone and show you're like a human behind that blob, or
I think so. Yeah, I think
yeah,
I've seen that kind of aspect to it. Like it's
as
more.
as you're like sat there waiting to be killed by the wipeout machine that spins around.
Yeah, and
Uh,
it's got a variety of mini games. It's not like you'll jump into a game of Fall Guys and you're going to have the same thing replayed on and on again. It's not like you're going to be on a bus flying through the air and then parachute into a different location on the map and try to hunt for guns and kill people. Like you go into a game
but
and you could spend the first game could be a game of football, like a variant of football. The next game could be you running across a bridge with holes in it
I think
that
the
topples.
thing is, you can make these arguments in either way. You could say that, well, in Fortnite, when you land, wherever you land can completely change how you do it. You get a different gun, it changes your
Yeah,
gameplay. Well, Fall Guys has only got a set of 20, 30 odd game types you can play anyway. And at that,
but
there are mostly three or four different types that are slightly edited for all those different gameplays. So,
yeah, I do see your argument there. However, I would say that the variety in Fall Guys is much different to a game such as Call of Duty Warzone or I can't remember the name of it now. The one you're just on about. It slipped my
Fortnite.
mind. Fortnite, that's the one. Um, it's because the gameplay isn't simply pick up a gun and shoot. It's run across a bridge, try to balance on this thing, jump at the right time, blah 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 blah. There are more varying ways of playing the game, in my opinion, than something like Fortnite and Warzone.
Yes,
Ultimately, it comes down to it's not one. It's not one, in my opinion. The winner of this game, in my opinion, is Among Us because it is a game that stands so highly as a multiplayer game, and the fun of the game is playing it with your friends and playing it online, of course,
but
which is similar to Fall Guys and
that's what I'm trying to get
Call
at.
of
You have
Duty.
like, what is it about Among Us that you would say like you've ruled out three of them, but why does Among Us win over Valorant?
It was winning over Fall Guys for me. Valorant didn't really have much in the way of enticing me to it, to be honest.
But
Um,
then you have to think like those sorts of types of gameplay, like Overwatch, like Valorant, are massively popular. You know, the likes
yeah,
of Overwatch and Paladins have brought in so much online competitiveness. They've brought in like esports. They've brought in so much attention on Twitch and such. It really does bring a lot of people in, and that is essentially the type of gameplay that you are getting from Valorant. And I'm not saying, oh well, this should be the best game. I'm saying maybe you shouldn't overlook it so much. Like you've not
no, I
played
agree.
Valorant. I feel like maybe we should at least think, hey, this could be a big deal. Because earlier you were saying Among Us was not so great because you only pick it up to play it with friends not very often, and doing the chat feature of it actually makes the game worse in that sense.
Yeah.
Whereas this game doesn't need that chat feature or anything. It's just you could pick it up and enjoy it whenever and however.
Mm, I don't know. It's just I've played games such as Valorant before, like why can I not think?
CS:GO, PUBG,
Overwatch.
Overwatch. That's the one. Don't know why I said
Like
PUBG.
when we had that like 2 week free trial of Overwatch, we played it for majority of like the 2 week trial we had. But since owning the game properly and not feeling like I had that window to play it, I've not felt any need to play it because as much fun as I did have in the weeks that we played it for free, it's not been enough to make me think, you know what, I'm going to spend some of my time playing that game. Like, I'm not a massive fan of
Yeah,
games
but
without much development anyway, in the way of like, you start the game, you play the game for a bit, but ultimately, after every match, you go back to the same starting point every time. Yeah, Smite is the one game that we do that with, and I don't know what's different about Smite, but
But then this is the thing. Overwatch and Paladins is a push the objective type game. You get this objective, you need to push it forward into the enemy base once you've captured it, and then the enemy need to defend it and push it back to the middle so that they don't lose.
yeah,
Uh, the difference is Valorant isn't that gameplay. It's not an Overwatch clone. It's a CS:GO combined with Overwatch type abilities. You get your team compositions, which can be interesting, especially if you play with friends, and it's your job to get in there, plant the bomb. And I'm sure there are other game modes that I'm not aware of that you can play as well. Um, Having team compositions, I feel quite often is a big win to games, especially when you get that team together. You know, if it's me, you, Martin, Anthony, and Charlotte together, all five of us going into that, and we win, you would feel great. And at the end of the day, you can get that fun the same as you do with Among Us. It's just a different type. But
mm,
you can keep replaying that just as much as you can keep replaying Among Us. I don't feel like we
okay.
should say Valorant is like Overwatch, so it's. I didn't play that a lot, so it's down. It's a different type of gameplay altogether, just because of the different objectives that they seem to be avoiding in Overwatch.
So with all that said, which game would you pick? Which game would you pick for winner?
Among Us.
And why would you pick Among Us over Valorant?
I felt like no other game has ever made me do these social experiments in Among Us. Like really doing these like, as the videos say, like big brain plays. Like it was so smart when I knew Anthony was innocent, so he was standing in the middle of the three-way corridor and basically being a human log and tracking where everyone was going. That kind of play was smart that we could then outplay the imposters because if they used vents, they would have gone from one end of the ship to the other without him seeing them. Um, and then we had to have trust in Anthony. We had to build that trust up first. If we didn't, he could have been just full on trying to help the other imposter. It's those kind of plays like trying to like when people lose trust in you and they're really suspicious of you, and even though you plead with them, you give them your honest, like you prayed over your dog's grave. You're like, please trust me, I didn't do it. And she still threw you out the ship. Made me laugh so hard. It's these kind of things that just get into people's minds. They wonder how far is this person going to go? And that is an experience I have not had anywhere else. And so this
Okay,
year, that wins.
but how do you know you wouldn't be able to get that from Valorant? How do you know you wouldn't be able to have the mind playing and the
Because
strategic play from
it's a,
Valorant?
it's a team-based objective game.
But you could easily, if we had like two teams worth of people,
I
which
see.
we probably have some Among Us.
You're
What
planning
makes
on
you think?
sabotaging my team, aren't you? You're going to join and then just jump off the edge.
But how do you know that that wouldn't happen? How could you say with full certainty that you wouldn't be able to get that kind of like strategic thinking and planning and sabotaging aspect
No, that's a different.
in
It's a
a game like
different kind.
Valorant?
It's different. See, in there, you get strategic plays, you get smart plays, you work as a team to apply a strategy based on characters and how you build your team together and how much you trust and who's got skills where. Among Us isn't that kind of game where you're like it's a different kind. It's where you're trying to play on social skills, pick up on like vocal cues, trying to like detect suspicious behavior.
Mm.
It's a completely different type of experiment, a type of gameplay that you don't get from other games, especially not a 5v5 objective based game. If I went into a room and I was told, well, I've got five people on my team and five against me, and I don't know who they are and I need to figure it out, but two people do know, I don't know, that would be a bit different, at least a bit more close to it. But no, I got four people next to me that are good guys, five people that are bad guys. They want to plant a bomb on my base, and I don't want that. Shoot them.
I'm just playing devil's advocate, and like,
I know you are, and
but if say you were in a group chat with 9 people, 5 of which were on the enemy team, 4 of which were on your team, and you could
five.
hear them planning things whilst you were playing against them, you could say things to them to strategically mess with their heads and make them think that you were going to be somewhere when you weren't, and you could use that to your advantage to try and get past their defenses and whatnot, and then have the psychological warfare
I feel like
somewhat similar to Among Us,
there's
but
so many
not quite.
problems with that analogy that it's hard for me to even start. But I'm just going to go ahead and say there's no games where there are 5v5 and I have to talk them out of killing me.
I'm not saying I'm
Very
talking about killing you,
strange.
but if they're
Don't
like,
kill me, I have a family to feed. Dude, this is a game. I know, please help me.
I mean, like, if you could hear them saying, "Oh, someone covered the bridge. Oh no, I'm gonna, um, I don't think they're gonna come across the bridge," and then you say, "Oh, I'm coming. I'm going to walk across the bridge, guys." They'll go, "Oh, well, someone needs to get to the bridge," and then you can go through where someone was before and play it that kind of way. If you get my drift.
No, I feel like you've gone crazy. I feel like
I
you've been
feel like I
talking
have
too
as
long.
well. I think I have as well. Anyway, the winner of this category this year was, in fact, Among Us. So we agree with that vote
We
as
agree that
well.
Among Us is best game for multiplayer out of the
And
five.
that was all the categories
Yeah, and
that we
Anthony's
wanted to
happy.
talk about.
Yeah, those are all of the categories. Let's see. I think we have a few more talking points before we're done for the day, though. Not to do with the actual awards now. Um, I want to know from you, Corey, of all these game awards that you've seen today, which one do you disagree with that was awarded by the parties, not by us? Which one do you disagree with the most?
Which one do I disagree with the most? Um, Let me have a quick look.
Okay, while you're thinking,
Um,
I'll start off. For me, Game of the Year was just I felt like a game needed to be more than a Netflix series part two to be able to win video game of the award, not Netflix series of the year. I'm really hating on that game, but
you are.
literally the other five games, Animal Crossing, Hades, Ghost of Tsushima, Final Fantasy VII Remake, or Doom Eternal, I would have been happy with any of those games taking the win, but it was The Last of Us Part 2, and it just gutted me so much.
See, ironically, I also chose a category which awarded Last of Us Part 2 the win, which is Best Action Adventure Game. And ironically, same points. Any of these other five games, I would be happy and I would be like, yes, that deserved the win for Best Action Adventure Game. You got Star Wars, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Spider Man, Ghost of Tsushima, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Any of those, I would have preferred having that win. But Last of Us Part 2 won it. And yeah, I disagree. I don't think it should have
Yeah,
won it. I don't think it should have won anywhere near as much awards. I think if it was going to win an award, it should probably have been. Which one would I have agreed with it winning? Um, um, Best performance. I say it should have won. I think
didn't
it
it
did
win
win.
Best Performance?
Yeah, it did win best
I was
performance.
gonna say.
Yeah, and rightly so. It should win best performance
I mean, they had two
because
nominations for that, by the way. It was
yeah,
both Ashley and Laura that were nominated of
yeah.
the
Who played
five
Ellie and
options.
who played Ellie and Abby respectively.
Yeah, I yeah. I mean, fair play. They won that. It's more down their alley. Like, I think actually looking at it, I would probably give them that award,
Yeah.
probably to Abby. But so
Just from
that
that
one I'm
one
fine with.
image,
I mean, yeah, just that one image alone, not the main character, just Abby.
literally. But yeah, it like with the story aspect of it. If there a category for best story? If so, it should probably win best narrative. Let me guess. The Last of Us Part Two. Yeah, best narrative. I agree with that one as well. Should win that because it is a fantastic narrative and it is a great story. But like you say, you could sit there and watch it instead of play it. So there's no real
Yeah,
need for it to be a game.
and I know one of our viewers, Martin, did watch it. He hasn't played it,
Yeah,
and I don't think he ever has any intention to play the game,
exactly. Right.
which further goes to the point of does it really deserve to win Game of the Year? And
Exactly.
for me, it's a no. The
Mm-hmm.
very last talking point we've got for today is and this is a hard one. This is a really hard one. You might need to do a little bit of research before we finish up. Which game do you predict will be the winner for 2021 Game of the Year? And none of these games are out, so this is real hard. That you need to
Um,
use like
I already know which one's going to win.
okay.
It's going to be Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, um, and that's it.
Seriously?
No, of course not. I'm going to play it. I'm going to love it, but it's not going to be Game of the Year by any stretch of the imagination. I think if they do it well, the Harry Potter game, Hogwarts Legacy, would be a very good contender for Game of the Year, or um, the new Horizon game potentially because it nearly won the year the first Horizon game came out, didn't it?
Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn, I think, won a couple of awards that year. It was really a good game though. Unfortunately, I think its light was sort of shadowed a little bit by Breath of the Wild,
Yeah,
but otherwise was truly outstanding.
Um, Another game that I was thinking earlier would also be a potential Breath of the Wild sequel if they release it next year, which I doubt they will because there's been no mention
Next
of it
year,
whatsoever. This year, sorry.
we're in 2021.
I know, forgot about that. A potential Breath of the Wild sequel would be up there in my estimations.
I feel like
Halo
it'd be.
Infinite, maybe if they release it.
Are you just listing your
Release it.
top list of games you want to buy now? Which one
I
game
mean,
would
it's getting
you
bigger.
think is going to win this year's 2021?
I think Hogwarts Legacy.
Hogwarts
I
Legacy for
have
you.
a good feeling about it. I think if they do it well, they will definitely get some awards, if not best game of the year. But I think Hogwarts Legacy is going to be a must play for 2021.
Okay. I think I'm going to go on the wild card here. I'm going to say a game that I feel like could win at
Is it
least
Lego
some
Star Wars?
awards, and I want it to win Game of the Year. But again, I've not played it, so it might be more of an art direction game. But I'm going to go for Ghostwire Tokyo.
Ooh, interesting.
It's one of those, like, I feel like it could get extra big if the horror aspects of it are good, like get some jump scares, and
Ooh,
then give it to a bunch of YouTubers, and I reckon it would blow up. But either way, I love the look of the game. I love the style. I love the theme. A bit like I seem to be very Japanese based. Ghost of
yeah,
Tsushima last year for Japan, and then Ghostwire Tokyo for this year. Who,
yeah.
who knows? I'm looking
Who
forward to it
knows?
either way.
Good.
So we'll catch up on this in a year's time, and we'll see
Yes,
whether we were right or not.
we will. We'll have this little snippet played to us before we do the retellings in a
And
year's time.
if it's anything like my last anticipated game, it's going to be terrible because Cyberpunk is both amazing and also both screwed up big time. Really, 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 really big time.
Fair enough.
Still love it though. Anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in today and listening to
Yeah.
our podcast.
Thanks for
Um,
listening. Thanks for your comments. Really appreciated.
we'll pop a link in the description to this video, which will be attached on YouTube, with a link that you can access this cast next week. We'll be doing it hopefully on Wednesday, but I'll have all the details in the description below. So thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.